One photo, one wrong number, one man who was never supposed to see her like that. Ivy Hale thought she was sending a joke to her best friend. Instead, it landed in the phone of Roman DeLuca, her boss, the cold-blooded heir to an empire built on blood and silence. 20 minutes later, he was standing at her door. And the moment his eyes found hers, every rule she'd ever lived by cracked down the middle. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and drop the name of the city you're watching from in the comments so I can see how far this story has traveled tonight. The rain had been falling on the city for 9 straight hours, and Ivy Hale was still wearing the same blouse she'd put on at 6 that morning. She sat slumped at her desk on the 42nd floor of the DeLuca Holdings Tower, forehead pressed into the heel of her palm, the glow of her monitor turning her skin a sickly blue. It was 7:14 p.m. on a Friday, and the office had emptied out 2 hours ago. The cleaning crew wouldn't come through until 10. Somewhere down the hall, a printer was whirring out pages no one had asked for, and the sound had become the soundtrack of her life. "Come on," she muttered at the screen. "Just give me the number, you miserable little cell." The spreadsheet blinked at her. It did not give her the number. She'd been hunting a $3 discrepancy in the quarterly reconciliation for 40 minutes. $3. Not 30,000, not 300. 3. And yet here she was, because Mr. Harrow in accounting had sent a note at 4:58 p.m. that read, simply, "Fix before Monday. RD wants clean books. RD Roman DeLuca." 2 initials that could make the whole floor sit up straighter like they'd been goosed. Ivy dropped her forehead onto the desk and groaned into the wood grain. Her hair, a tangle of dark waves she'd given up on around noon, fell across her face. She'd been an assistant financial analyst at DeLuca Holdings for exactly 14 months, which meant she was still junior enough to get handed the garbage tasks, but senior enough that nobody came to help her with them. Her phone buzzed against the desk. "Mara. You alive?" "Mara. Ivy. Ivy Hale. Answer me or I'm calling the morgue." Ivy huffed a laugh and sat up. She typed with her thumbs, fast and sloppy. "Ivy. Alive. Barely. My boss is trying to kill me with a spreadsheet." "Mara, which boss? The hot one or the one who smells like onions?" "Ivy. Mara. Oh my God." "Mara, which one?" "Ivy. The hot one." Obviously. Harrow wouldn't make me do this over a weekend, he'd just yell at me on Monday. "Mara. Okay, so when are you getting out of there?" "I'm at Margot's, drinks are half price. I'm on my 2nd vodka cranberry, and I'm going to start flirting with a mortgage broker if you don't come rescue me." Ivy. "I can't. Roman wants clean books by Monday, and if I leave without finding this, I will literally dream about it." Mara. "Roman. First name basis now?" Ivy rolled her eyes hard enough to hurt. Ivy. "I have never spoken to that man in my life. I've seen him in the elevator twice. He looked through me like I was made of glass. The second time I dropped my coffee on my own shoe, and he didn't even blink." Mara. "Tragic. Send pic of the spreadsheet. I want to see what's killing Ivy. You don't want to see the spreadsheet." Mara. "Send it." Ivy. "Fine." She tilted her phone, snapped a photo of the tangled mess of cells on her monitor, and hit send without looking. Then she went back to the $3. It took her another 11 minutes to find it. A vendor payment in the Singapore subsidiary had been entered twice with slightly different timestamps, and the reconciliation script had rounded one of them incorrectly. She fixed it, saved the file, pushed it to the server, and let out the longest breath of her life. "Done," she whispered to the empty office. "You miserable little cell, you are done." She stood up, stretched until her back popped in 3 places, and reached for her coat. Her stomach growled loud enough to startle her. She'd eaten a granola bar at 11 and nothing since. She was going to go home, she decided. She was going to take a shower so hot it peeled the day off her skin, and she was going to order the biggest pile of lo mein the city could produce. Her phone buzzed again. "Mara. Wait." "What?" "Mara. Ivy. Mara. Ivy. Mara. Why did you send me a picture of your underwear?" Ivy froze with one arm in her coat. "What?" she said out loud. Ivy. "What are you talking about?" I sent you a spreadsheet. Mara, babe, you did not send me a spreadsheet. You sent me a picture of herself in that black set I got you for your birthday, the one from the Tuesday thing. Did you forget? The Tuesday thing. Ivy's stomach dropped so fast she felt it in her knees. 2 nights ago, half drunk on box wine and loneliness after a particularly brutal double shift, she had tried on the ridiculous black lingerie set Mara had bought her as a joke birthday present. She had taken a mirror selfie in her bathroom, captioned it "worth every penny of your money, babe," and sent it to Mara. They had both laughed about it. Ivy had meant to delete it. She had not deleted it. She fumbled her phone, fingers suddenly thick and stupid. She opened her camera roll. The selfie was still there, and right below it, the spreadsheet screenshot. She opened her messages, and then she stopped breathing, because at the top of her thread with Mara, sent 13 minutes ago, was the spreadsheet. Ugly, blue-gridded, ordinary. And at the top of a different thread, one she had opened once in a panic 6 months ago when her direct supervisor had been out sick and she'd needed an emergency approval. Sent 40 seconds ago was the selfie. The thread was labeled R. DeLuca. Ivy made a sound that wasn't quite a word. It was more the sound a person makes right before they faint. "No," she said. "No, no, 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 no." She stared at the screen. She scrolled. She stared again. She tried to will the universe to reverse itself. She tried to remember if there was any chance, any possibility, that she had misread what was on her own phone. There was not. She had sent to Roman DeLuca, 34 years old, 6'2", heir to the DeLuca fortune, the man the finance blogs called the Iceman, a photograph of herself in black lace lingerie with a caption that said, "Worth every penny of your money, babe." Ivy sat down. She did not mean to sit down. Her legs simply quit. Her phone buzzed in her hand. "Mara." "Ivy? What's happening? Why are you not typing?" She typed with shaking fingers. "Ivy. Mara. Ivy. Mara. I sent the picture to the wrong person. Mara. Oh no. Oh no. Who? Ivy. Mara. Ivy. I sent it to Roman DeLuca." There was a very long pause. Ivy watched the 3 little dots appear, disappear, appear again. Mara. "Ivy Hale. Ivy Marie Hale, what did you just say to me?" "Ivy, I'm going to throw up." Mara. "Unsend it. Unsend it right now." Ivy. "I can't. It's already delivered. It says delivered. Mara, it says read." Mara. "Oh my God." Mara. "Oh my God." Ivy put her phone face down on the desk. She stared at the ceiling tiles. She counted them. She counted them again. A little rectangle of water damage in the corner above the copier had, she noticed with the clarity of a person in shock, grown since last week. She picked up her phone. She turned it over. She looked at the thread with R. DeLuca. The word "rid 7:26 p.m." sat under her message like a tombstone. He had read it. He had read it almost immediately. And he had not typed anything back. Not a question mark. Not a wrong number. Not a "please explain yourself." Nothing. She considered very seriously walking to the window, opening it, and simply stepping out. It was 42 floors. It would be quick. Instead, she opened her messages and started typing. Ivy. "Mr. DeLuca. I am so sorry that message was not intended for you. It was a mistake. Please disregard. I am so deeply sorry." She deleted it. Too many sorries. She tried again. Ivy. "Mr. DeLuca, I sincerely apologize. That message was sent in error. Please accept my apologies for the unprofessional." She deleted that one too. The word unprofessional felt like an understatement on a cosmic scale. She tried 4 more times. Each attempt sounded worse than the last. She was, she realized, a financial analyst, not a crisis negotiator, and there was no version of this message that did not read as either a grovel or a come-on. She locked her phone and shoved it into her bag. "Okay," she said to the empty office, mostly to hear a human voice. "Okay, this is fine. You're going to go home. You're going to sleep. On Monday, you're going to quit. You're going to move to a small town. You're going to become a baker. Bakers don't have bosses. Bakers have flour. Bakers are fine." She stood. She pulled her coat on. She turned off her monitor. She walked out of her cubicle and down the long, empty corridor toward the elevators, her heels clicking too loud on the marble floor. She did not cry in the elevator. She was proud of that. She did cry, a little, in the Uber, which she felt was allowed. By the time the driver dropped her in front of her building in Bellwether Heights, the rain had thinned to a cold mist. Her building was a 6-story pre-war walk-up with a good stoop and bad radiators and a front door that stuck in the winter. She lived on the 4th floor, apartment 4B, in a one-bedroom that cost almost half her salary and was worth every cent because of the window in the living room that faced east and caught the morning light. She climbed the stairs slowly. Each floor felt like an accusation. She let herself in, dropped her bag on the floor, kicked off her heels. One of them skidded across the hardwood and hit the baseboard, and walked straight to the kitchen. She opened the fridge. She stared into it. There was half a lemon, a yogurt, and a bottle of Chardonnay with maybe 2 glasses left in it. She took the Chardonnay. She didn't bother with a glass. She sat on the kitchen floor in her work skirt with her back against the cabinets and took a long pull straight from the bottle. "Bakers," she said to the ceiling. "Bakers don't get fired for sexting their CEO." She laughed once, a short, ugly laugh, and took another drink. Her phone was still in her bag by the door. She could not bring herself to look at it. She had just closed her eyes, just started to let the warmth of the wine push the horror down into something she could survive until morning when someone knocked on her door. 3 knocks. Measured, unhurried. Ivy froze, bottle halfway to her lips. Nobody in her life knocked like that. Mara pounded with both fists. Her downstairs neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, rang the bell. Delivery guys never made it past the front door. The mailman slid things under. Whoever this was, they had come inside the building. They had climbed 4 flights, and they had knocked like a man who had never in his life wondered whether a door would open for him. The 3 knocks came again. Ivy set the wine bottle down very, very carefully on the tile. "Who is it?" she called. Her voice came out thin. There was a pause. "DeLuca," said a voice on the other side of the door. Ivy's stomach went somewhere far away, possibly to Singapore, where her $3 discrepancy had come from. The universe, she thought wildly, was a closed loop. Everything was connected. Everything was punishment. She got to her feet. Her knees hurt. Her hands were shaking and her face felt hot, and she was, absurdly, still in her work blouse with the second button undone and no shoes on. One second, she called. She bolted to her bedroom. She yanked a cardigan off the back of her desk chair. She attempted to smooth her hair in the mirror, realized it was hopeless, and gave up. She pressed her hands flat against her cheeks and stared at herself. Her mascara had run a little under her left eye. She wiped it with her thumb. It smeared worse. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, Ivy. He is a human man. He is a human man." She walked to the door. She unlocked it. She did not open it. "Mr. DeLuca," she said through the wood. "I want to say, before anything, I am so sorry. That message was a mistake. It was meant for a friend. I have never in my life been more Ivy." The way he said her name made her stop talking. It wasn't angry. It wasn't amused. It was just precise, like a man setting down a glass exactly where he wanted it. "Could you open the door, please?" he said. She stared at the brass of the lock. Her pulse was a drumbeat in her ears. "Are you going to fire me?" she said. There was a pause on the other side of the door, and then almost, a laugh. It wasn't really a laugh. It was one short exhale through the nose. "I'm not here to fire you," he said. "Are you going to, she swallowed. "Sue me? Have me sign something? I'll sign anything, Mr. DeLuca. I'll sign a Ivy." There was that voice again, precise. "Open the door." She opened the door. Roman DeLuca filled the doorway of her apartment the way bad weather fills a window. He was taller than she remembered from the 2 times she had seen him in an elevator, which could not possibly be true, and yet felt true. He was in a charcoal overcoat with the collar turned up against the rain, and underneath it, a black suit and a black shirt with no tie, the top button of the shirt undone. His hair was dark and wet at the edges. His jaw had the kind of shadow on it that suggested he had been awake for a long time, and his eyes, gray, almost colorless under the hallway light, moved over her once, quickly, in a way that was not insulting and not exactly polite either. He did not look like a man who had come to yell at her. He looked like a man who had come to find out something, and who would stand in her hallway all night until he did. "Hi," she said stupidly. "May I come in?" he said. I can stay out here," he said. "But your neighbor on the left has already looked through her peephole twice." Ivy stepped back. He walked in. Her apartment, which had felt reasonably sized 20 minutes ago, shrank to the size of a shoebox. He glanced, briefly, at everything. The crooked floor lamp, the stack of unread novels on the coffee table, the kicked-off heel by the baseboard, the yoga mat she'd been using as a laundry hamper. He did not comment on any of it. He did, she noticed, step around the heel without breaking stride. He turned in the middle of her living room and looked at her. Ivy closed the door. She pressed her back against it. "I need you to understand," she said, "that the message was a mistake. Yes, I gathered. I sent it to a friend." It was a joke. A joke. He said the word like he was tasting it. "About lingerie your friend bought you." Ivy wanted very badly for the floor to open. "Yes," she said. Yes. It was, "You don't have to explain it to me, Miss Hale." Miss Hale. The distance in it was surgical. She almost preferred Ivy. She said, "I just need to know that my job is—" "Your job is fine." He said it flatly. He was looking at a photograph on her bookshelf. Her and Mara at 17, sunburned and smiling on a beach Ivy could no longer remember the name of. His face did not change as he looked at it. It was a face, she decided, that was extremely good at not changing. "Then why are you here?" she said. He turned his head, looked at her. And for the first time since he had walked in, something in his expression shifted. Not a smile. Not anything so generous. Just a kind of narrowing, like a man deciding whether to step forward or step back. "That's a fair question," he said. He did not answer it. Instead, he walked toward her. Not fast, not slow. 4 steps across her rug until he was close enough that she could smell him. Rain and some cold, dark cologne, and under it something that was just him, warm and faintly metallic, like a watch that had been against skin all day. He stopped an arm's length away. "Mr. DeLuca," she began. "Roman, I don't need you to call me Mr. DeLuca in your own apartment, Ivy. I don't know what you want." He tilted his head. The hallway light caught his cheekbone. "I'm not sure I do either," he said, and there was something almost honest in it, which alarmed her more than anything else had. There was a silence. The radiator in the corner of her living room ticked. "You came up 4 flights of stairs," she said, because she had to say something or she was going to combust. "In the rain, on a Friday, to tell me you don't know what you want." "I came up 4 flights of stairs," he said, "because I opened a message that I was not supposed to open, and I found that I could not stop thinking about the person who had sent it." Ivy's breath caught, hard, in the top of her chest. "That's," she said, "that's inappropriate." "Yes," he said, "I'm aware. You're my boss. I'm aware of that too." "Then, Ivy!" She stopped. "I'm not going to do anything you don't want," he said, and he said it so quietly and so evenly that it undid something in her stomach. "If you tell me to leave, I will leave. If you tell me that this is the worst possible moment, I will apologize and I will walk out that door, and on Monday morning we will both pretend that I was never here. Your job will not be in danger. I want you to hear me say that." "Okay," she said faintly, "but I'm asking you." He took a breath. It was, she noticed, not quite steady. "I'm asking you if you want me to leave." The radiator ticked. Outside, a car went by on the wet street, and its tires made a long hissing sound. Ivy looked up at him, at the rain still caught in the ends of his hair, at the way the muscle in his jaw had set, like he was bracing himself for an answer. She thought, with a clarity that surprised her, "This is the stupidest thing I will ever do." "Don't," she said. He went very still. "Don't leave," she said. For a moment he did not move at all, and then he lifted a hand, slowly, telegraphing every inch of it, and touched her jaw with the back of his knuckles. Just that. just knuckles against the line of her jaw, cool from the rain. "You're sure?" he said. "No," she said honestly. His mouth did something that was almost a smile. "Okay," he said, and he kissed her. It was not the kiss she would have expected from a man like him. She had expected in the half-second before something hard and impatient, something that would bruise her mouth and her ego at the same time. Instead, he kissed her carefully, like he was handling something he wasn't sure he was allowed to touch. His free hand came up and cupped the side of her neck, thumb against the hinge of her jaw, and he tilted her head just slightly and kissed her again, deeper this time. And she made a small, embarrassing sound into his mouth that she would think about, in shame, for the rest of her life. He pulled back first. Not far. Maybe an inch. Enough that his forehead rested against hers and she could feel him breathing, and she could feel that his breathing, underneath all that stillness, had gone faster. "I should go," he said. "Okay. I'm going to go." "Okay." Neither of them moved. She put her hand flat against the lapel of his coat. She could feel his heartbeat through it. It was faster than a man like him should ever have allowed. She pressed her palm against it for one more second, the way a person might press a bookmark into a page, saving the place. Then she stepped back. He straightened. He ran one hand, once, through his damp hair. He looked, for a single instant, younger than he had looked in the doorway. "Monday," he said. "At work. We don't—" "No," she said quickly. "No. Of course." Nothing happened. Nothing happened. He nodded. He turned for the door. He had his hand on the knob when he stopped and turned back and looked at her one more time. "Ivy." "Yes." "Lock this behind me," he said. "Both locks." She nodded. He looked like he was going to say something else. He didn't. He opened the door, stepped out into the hallway, and pulled it shut behind him. She heard his footsteps go down the stairs. She heard the front door of the building open and close. She heard a car door slam somewhere on the street below and an engine start, and the sound of tires going away on wet pavement. She did not move until the sound of the engine was gone. Then she turned, slowly, and locked the deadbolt and the chain and stood with her forehead against the door. "Oh my God," she whispered. Her knees gave out and she slid down the door until she was sitting on the floor in her stockinged feet, coat still half on, mascara probably everywhere. She started laughing, then she started crying. Then she was doing both at once, which was a new experience. Her phone was still in her bag. She crawled to it and dug it out. 11 missed texts from Mara. 3 missed calls, a voicemail. She opened Mara's thread. "Mara, Ivy plus tell me you're alive." Mara. "Ivy, I swear to God." Mara. "Ivy, if you don't answer me in the next 5 minutes, I'm calling the police." Mara. "Ivy." Ivy wiped her eyes on her sleeve. She typed. "Ivy. I'm alive." Mara. "Oh, thank G." Mara. "What happened? What did he say? Did he email you? Is it bad?" Ivy stared at the screen. Her thumbs hovered. Ivy. "He came to my apartment." There was a very long pause. Mara. "Ivy." Mara. "Ivy." "Marie Hale." Mara. "Say that again." Ivy. "He came to my apartment, Mara. He came to my door. He knocked. He came inside. We talked. Her thumbs stopped. Ivy. "He kissed me." Mara. "I'm getting in an Uber right now." Ivy. "No, plus don't. I can't do a debrief tonight. I really cannot." Mara. Ivy. Mara. "Ivy." "He kissed you." Ivy. "I know, Ivy. I know." Ivy. Mara. "We agreed at work that nothing happened. On Monday, nothing happened." Mara. "Babe. Babe. Babe. Listen to me. I have known you since you were 9. You do not kiss men like that and then pretend it didn't happen. You are not that girl. You cried over a boy in a sandwich shop for 6 weeks in college." Ivy. "That sandwich had feelings for me, and you know it." Mara. Ivy. Ivy laughed, wet and ragged. She pressed the phone to her chest. Then she got up. She went to the bathroom. She washed her face. She looked at the woman in the mirror, flushed, swollen-eyed, mouth slightly pink at the edges, and she said out loud, "You are in so much trouble, Ivy Hale." The woman in the mirror did not argue. Bosha. He did not call her on Saturday. He did not call her on Sunday. By Sunday night, Ivy had convinced herself that she had, in fact, imagined the entire thing. That she had fallen asleep at her desk on Friday and dreamed a wet man into her apartment and everything that had happened after. It had the logic of a dream, she told herself. A stress dream. A guilt dream. She had been tired. She had been drinking cheap Chardonnay on her kitchen floor. Clearly her brain had produced a coping fantasy. She repeated this to herself all weekend. She repeated it while she did her laundry. She repeated it while she scrubbed her bathtub so aggressively that her shoulder ached. She repeated it while she re-ironed the same blouse twice. She did not repeat it on Monday morning at 7:58 a.m. when she stepped off the elevator onto the 42nd floor and walked to her desk. There was a paper cup of coffee on it. Ivy stopped walking. The cup was from Lorette's, the little cafe on 5th and Barrow, 12 blocks away. She had mentioned Lorette's exactly once in her life to her deskmate Priya about 8 months ago, when Priya had brought her a bagel from there. It was not on the way to the office from any reasonable direction. It was not a cafe you stopped at by accident. The cup was still hot. There was no note. Ivy set her bag down very slowly. She sat in her chair. She took the lid off the cup. It was a latte. Oat milk. 1 sugar. Exactly the way she took it. She had never in her life told anyone at DeLuca Holdings how she took her coffee. She heard footsteps behind her. Priya coming in, humming. "Morning, Hale? Weekend?" "Fine," Ivy said. Her voice sounded far away, even to her. "Quiet. Lucky." Priya dropped her bag at the desk next to Ivy's, then paused. "Ooh, Lorette's. You walked all the way over there?" "No," Ivy said. Priya looked at her. "I don't know where it came from," Ivy said. Priya grinned. "Secret admirer. Nice." "Please stop talking. Secret rich admirer." Priya. "I'm just saying, that's a $4 coffee." Ivy put her head in her hands. At 9:03 a.m., an email came through on her company account from r.deluca r.deluca at delucaholdings.com to I, Hale. Subject Q. 3 Singapore Reconciliation. Miss Hale, thank you for addressing the discrepancy in the Singapore file over the weekend. I'd like a full walkthrough of your methodology. Tuesday, 11 a.m., my office. R. DeLuca. Ivy stared at the email for a long time. Then, at the very bottom, below his signature block, she saw a single line. So small and so gray she almost missed it. "The coffee is from me. I hope it's correct." She closed the email. She picked up the cup. She took a sip. It was exactly right. Somewhere 3 floors above her, in a corner office with glass walls and a view that stretched to the river, Roman DeLuca was, at this exact moment, watching the elevator cameras on a monitor on his desk, and he had been watching them since 7:44. He did not look like a man who had slept. He did not, however, look like a man who regretted anything. Outside, the rain had started again, and 3 floors below them both, on the 39th floor, in a corner office that did not have a view of the river, but did have a view of the parking garage. A man named Victor Cade was quietly closing a file on his computer that he had hoped no one would ever see, and wiping his mouth with the back of his hand and reaching for his phone to make a call that he very much did not want Roman DeLuca to know he was making. He dialed. Someone picked up on the second ring. "We may have a problem," Victor said softly. "The Hale girl. She found the Singapore thing." On the other end of the line, a voice said something very short and very cold. Victor closed his eyes. "No," he said. "No, not yet. Let me see what she does with it first." He ended the call. He sat at his desk in his corner office with the view of the parking garage, and he looked at his own reflection in the dark screen of his monitor, and he waited. Victor Cade did not sleep that night either, though nobody was watching him on a screen to confirm it. He sat in the half-dark of his home office, in the suburbs out past the river, in a house that was too big for a man who lived alone, and he stared at a whiskey he did not drink. On the floor beside his chair was a leather briefcase he had been carrying to work for 9 years. Inside it, tucked into the lining, was a second phone that did not have his real name attached to it. And on that phone was a string of messages that, if anyone from DeLuca Holdings ever read them, would end his life. He was not being dramatic about that. He had watched Roman DeLuca's father end a man's life over less, in the back of a restaurant in the garment district, when Victor was 26 and still thought the word family in that business meant something warm. He had learned better. He had learned how to survive. And for the last 18 months, he had been surviving by reaching his hand into Roman DeLuca's pocket and taking things that did not belong to him and selling them, piece by quiet piece, to a man named Bishop who ran a rival operation out of a freight company 2 states over. $3. That was what he kept coming back to, sitting there in the dark. 3 stupid dollars in a Singapore subsidiary, off by a rounding error, and some junior girl in finance with tired eyes and a habit of actually doing her job had pulled on that thread and kept pulling. He had not expected that. He had expected the thread to snap. He set the whiskey down. He picked up the second phone. He typed, with 2 fingers, the way a man types when he has never really learned to use a phone. Girl may pose problem. Will monitor. Don't contact. V. He sent it. He deleted the thread. He put the phone back into the lining of the briefcase and he closed the latches, one at a time, and he sat there listening to his own breath until the sky outside the window started to go gray. Across the city, in a tower of mirrored glass, Ivy Hale was awake too, though for much more ordinary reasons. She had lain in her bed from 11 until 4, staring at the ceiling, replaying every frame of Friday night in her head with the lights on. She had replayed the knock. She had replayed the way he had said, "Open the door," like it was a sentence he was used to people obeying. She had replayed the back of his knuckles against her jaw. She had replayed, in particular, the sound she had made against his mouth, because that one hurt the most. And she was a woman who had always believed in facing the things that hurt. By Tuesday morning, she had arrived at what she decided was the only sane approach. She was going to walk into his office at 11 a.m. sharp. She was going to deliver a flawless walkthrough of the Singapore reconciliation. She was going to say, "Thank you for the coffee, Mr. DeLuca, but please do not send me any more of them." And she was going to walk out. She rehearsed the sentence in the shower. She rehearsed it at her mirror. She rehearsed it in the elevator on the way up. At 10:58 a.m., she stood outside his office door on the 45th floor and discovered that she had, at some point between the elevator and here, forgotten every single word of the sentence. His assistant was a woman in her 50s named Delphine, who had worked for 3 DeLucas and did not waste syllables. She looked up at Ivy over half-moon reading glasses. "Hale?" "Yes." "Go in. He's waiting." "Should I?" "Go in." Ivy went in. His office took up the corner of the floor. 2 walls of glass, a long, low desk in dark wood, a leather chair behind it, 2 chairs in front of it, and absolutely nothing else. No photographs, no plants, no awards on the wall, though she knew there were plenty he could have hung. On the desk were a closed laptop, a legal pad, a pen laid exactly parallel to the pad, and a tumbler of water. Roman stood at the window with his back to her, looking out at the river. He was in a dark gray suit today, no tie. He did not turn around when she came in. "Miss Hale? Mr. DeLuca?" "Close the door." She closed the door. The click of the latch sounded very loud. "Sit," he said. She sat. He stood at the window a moment longer, hands in his pockets. The silence stretched. She felt it in the small of her back. She felt it in her teeth. When he finally turned, his face was set in the same unreadable arrangement she had met in her doorway on Friday. He crossed to his desk and sat down across from her, and the desk between them felt suddenly like a mercy. "Walk me through Singapore," he said. That at least she could do. She had done it 14 times in her head on the way over. She opened her laptop. She turned it to face him. She walked him through the duplicate vendor entry, through the rounding error, through the way the reconciliation script had hidden the discrepancy in plain sight for 3 weeks because the ledger had a blind spot for subcent variances and cross-currency conversions. He listened without interrupting. He did not take notes. He watched her hands on the keyboard more than he watched the screen. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. "That's good work," he said. "Harold won't tell you that. I'm telling you that." "Thank you." "How did you find it?" "It was a $3 variance on a $12 million ledger. I followed it because nobody else was going to." He reached for his pen. He rolled it once between his thumb and his forefinger. He put it back down parallel to the pad. Miss Hale? Yes. About Friday. She had known this was coming and still her stomach dropped 6 inches. Mr. DeLuca, let me talk. She closed her mouth. I came to your apartment, he said, because I made a decision in 40 seconds that I have been second-guessing for 3 days. I didn't come there to... He stopped. He set his jaw. He tried again. I came there because I wanted to look at you when I asked you whether the message had been intentional. I told myself that was the reason. I was lying to myself. I knew, on the elevator down to the lobby of this building, that I was lying to myself. I went anyway. Ivy sat very still. What I did in your apartment was out of line, he said. Not illegal, I did not force anything, but I am your employer, and I came to your home, uninvited, on a Friday night, and I put you in a position where the professional consequences of telling me to leave were not zero. Regardless of what I told you about your job, you could not know in that moment that I meant it, and I knew that. I chose to come anyway. He looked at her directly. That was wrong of me, he said. I'm telling you that it was wrong. She opened her mouth. She closed it. You are not going to lose your job, he said. Not because of me, not because of this. If anyone ever gives you the impression otherwise, you come to me directly. Okay, she said quietly. I am also not going to come to your apartment again. Okay? I am not going to send you any more coffee. Something in her chest, against her will, moved in a way that was not quite relief. Okay? And I'm going to ask you a question, he said, that I am asking you in this office at 11 in the morning in a shirt and a jacket with a desk between us, so that you have every possible degree of freedom to answer it however you want, with the understanding that whatever you say will not change anything about your employment here. Okay. Do you want me to leave you alone? The office was very quiet. Somewhere outside, a helicopter passed over the river and the sound beat against the glass and faded. She could feel her pulse in her throat. I don't know, she said. His jaw worked. That's not a yes. No, she agreed. It isn't. It's also not a no. No. Miss Hale, I'm not going to lie to you, Mr. DeLuca. I have thought about Friday night approximately 4,000 times in the last 72 hours. I cannot tell you I want you to leave me alone. I can tell you that I don't know what I want, and that I don't trust myself to know what I want while I'm sitting across from you. That is the most honest thing I am capable of saying right now. He absorbed it the way a man absorbs news he was expecting and did not want. Okay, he said. Okay, then we're going to do it like this. He leaned forward. He put his forearms on the desk. His cuffs showed, plain, no links. We are going to be professional in this building. I'm not going to seek you out. I'm not going to send you coffee. I'm not going to look for reasons to bring you up here. If I have professional business with you, it will go through Hale, the way it would with any other analyst in your position. You will not be assigned to anything because of me. If you have something you want to bring to me, you bring it to me the way any analyst on the 42nd floor would, through your chain, all right? Bull Bamalatin. All right. And outside this building, he said, slower, if at some point you decide that you know what you want, you tell me. You pick the place. You pick the time. I will show up when you say, and I will leave when you say. Until then, I will leave you alone. Ivy's fingers were cold on the edge of the desk. That's an enormous amount of power you're handing me, she said. Yes. Why? Something flickered in his face. It was gone before she could name it. Because I didn't handle Friday well, he said. And because what happened on Friday happened because I chose to do it. I'm not going to sit in this office and pretend it was mutual discovery. I kissed you in your apartment, Ivy. You kissed me back. We both know those aren't the same sentence. She looked down at her hands. Okay, she said. Okay. He stood. She stood. At the door, with her hand on the knob, she turned. Roman. It was the first time she had used his name. He stopped very still. The coffee yesterday, she said. How did you know how I take it? He actually almost smiled. Not quite. You've been ordering the same drink from the cafe in the lobby every Monday for 14 months, he said. The girl who works the counter on Monday mornings is the daughter of a man who does business with me. I asked her. That, Ivy said, is a slightly alarming answer. Yes. I'm going to go now. Good. She went. She made it to the elevator before her hands started shaking. She made it to her desk before she realized she had been holding her breath, off and on, for most of an hour. She sat down. She put her hands flat on the desk. She stared at them until they stopped. Priya slid a granola bar across the desk without looking up. Eat, Priya said. I'm fine. Eat the granola bar, Hale. Ivy ate the granola bar. And true to his word, he left her alone. He did not send coffee. He did not email. He did not pass her in the hallway, which was partly because he rarely came down to the 42nd floor, and partly, she suspected, because he had begun choosing not to. On Thursday afternoon, she went to the 18th floor to drop off a file for legal and rode the elevator back up with 3 men in suits who did not acknowledge her. And as the doors were closing on the 45th floor, she caught a glimpse of him at the end of the hall, in conversation with a woman in a red blazer, and he turned his head at exactly the wrong moment and saw her, and the elevator doors closed, and that was all. Nothing. A look that lasted less than a second. She rode the rest of the way down to 42 with her heart thumping like she had run up a flight of stairs. She told herself she was fine. She told herself that was the deal. She told herself when she got home and poured herself a glass of wine and sat on her couch in a sweater that smelled faintly of him, somehow, still, that she had made her choice and that her choice was silence. Silence lasted 10 days. What broke it was not Roman. What broke it was a ledger. Because the Singapore thing, it turned out, was not alone. Ivy noticed it on a Wednesday. She was closing out a reconciliation on the Dubai sub-fund, routine work, numbers she had seen 100 times. And there it was again. A vendor payment split across 2 timestamps with a conversion rate that, when she ran it against the interbank record for that day, did not match. Off by a sliver. A fingernail of money. 38 cents this time, against a $600,000 wire. She froze. No, she said under her breath. Priya, next to her, did not look up. You talking to the ledger again, Hale? Hush. She opened the Singapore file from 2 weeks ago. She laid the 2 reconciliations side by side on her monitor. She ran her finger down the columns until the shape of them matched. Same vendor profile, different name, same banking corridor, same conversion anomaly, different subsidiary, different quarter, same hand. She felt the back of her neck go cold. She closed the windows. She did not print anything. She did not save anything to her local drive. She opened a blank notepad and wrote down, by hand, on a yellow legal pad, the 2 vendor IDs and the 2 transaction stamps and nothing else. And she tore the page off and folded it into her pocket. She worked the rest of the day on other things. She made herself smile at Priya at lunch. She made herself ask Harrow about his weekend, a thing she had never done before and which visibly unnerved him. She left the office at 6, which was early for her, and she walked, not to the subway, but 8 blocks north, to a little bookstore called Dunstan's that had a coffee counter in the back. She ordered a tea. She sat at the counter. She pulled the piece of paper out of her pocket and she looked at it. Someone was robbing DeLuca Holdings. Not a lot. Not all at once. A little at a time, from different pockets, in a pattern just regular enough to make it from a hand and just irregular enough to make it hard to catch. And she, the junior analyst who had found the $3, was going to be the one to see it. She thought about Roman. She thought about Roman saying, if you have something you want to bring to me, you bring it to me the way any analyst on the 42nd floor would, through your chain. Harrow. She was supposed to bring it to Harrow. Harrow would take it to the head of internal audit. Internal audit would take it to Roman. That was the chain. The problem was that Ivy had worked at DeLuca Holdings long enough to know that the chain had a lot of hands on it. And if one of those hands was the one doing the stealing, then the piece of paper in her pocket was going to end up, not on Roman's desk, but in a shredder on somebody else's floor. She put her forehead down on the counter of Dunstan's and groaned. The barista, a kid with a pierced eyebrow, raised his eyebrows at her. Bad book, he said. Bad life, she said. Relatable. She sat there for another half hour. Then she took out her phone and, before she could talk herself out of it, opened her thread with DeLuca. The last message in it was still her spreadsheet screenshot from what felt like a decade ago. She typed. She deleted. She typed again. I need to see you, not in the building, tonight if possible. It's work. It's important. She stared at it. She added, "You said I could pick the place and time. I'm picking." She hit send before she could lose her nerve. She watched the word delivered appear. She waited. 40 seconds later, the word read appeared, and then the 3 dots. And then they stopped, and then they started again. Where? She closed her eyes. She made herself think. Dunstan's bookstore. 4th and Linden. I'm here now. A longer pause. 30 minutes. She locked her phone. She put it on the counter face down. She asked the kid with the eyebrow for another tea. Her hands, she noticed with clinical interest, had begun to shake again. It was becoming a pattern. He arrived in 26. She heard him before she saw him, because the bell over the door at Dunstan's was brass and old, and it had a particular way of announcing people, and she had trained herself over 10 days to look up at every bell. When she looked up, he was already scanning the store. He had come in plain, a dark peacoat, dark jeans, a gray sweater under the coat. No tie, no suit, nothing that said DeLuca. Nothing, at least, that would say it to a stranger. The posture still said it. The way the few people in the shop, including the kid with the eyebrow, paused and looked up and then looked away. That said it. He found her at the counter. He walked over. He did not sit immediately. "This is public," he said quietly. "I know. You sure about this?" "I'm sure." He sat. He ordered a black coffee. He did not touch it when it came. "Tell me," he said. She pushed the piece of paper across the counter. He looked at it. He did not pick it up. He looked at it for a long time. His face did not change. It was the not changing she was starting to understand. That was the thing to watch. The blanker his face got, the more he was reacting. "Miss Hale." He was calling her that again. Good, clean, businesslike. "Yes." "Walk me through this." She did. She kept her voice low. She kept her eyes on the counter. She told him what she had seen in the Dubai reconciliation. She told him that it matched the pattern in Singapore. She told him that in both cases the vendor profile was slightly different, but that the banking corridor was identical, and that both anomalies hid in the rounding because they were timed against a weekend conversion rate that the ledger software treated as a trusted source. She told him that if it was happening in Singapore and Dubai, she was prepared to bet it was happening in more places because the pattern was too clean for 2 instances. "How many places?" he said. "I haven't looked. I wanted to come to you first." "Why?" She hesitated. "Because the chain of custody on this, if I took it through Harrow, involves at least 6 people before it reaches your desk. And if one of them is the one doing it, then it disappears." "Yes." He was quiet for a long moment. He rotated the untouched coffee cup a half turn. "What makes you think it's someone senior?" he said. "The access. You need authorization at the subfund level to move vendor profiles. Priya doesn't have that. I don't have that. This is someone with a signature, someone who signs off on things. How many people in this company have that level of authorization?" "In my division, 7. "Name them." She named them. 6 men and 1 woman in order of seniority. He listened without reaction to 5 of the names. At the 6th, a muscle in his jaw moved. She marked it. "Victor Cade," she said. "Go on." "I don't have any evidence it's him. I want to be clear about that. Seniority and access is not evidence." "I know it's not. But when you heard his name, something—" "Yes." He did not elaborate. He pushed the paper back across the counter to her. "Take it home," he said. "Tonight. Do not leave it on a desk. Do not put it in a drawer. Do not leave it in this shop. Starting tomorrow, you are going to continue to do your job at the exact pace you were doing it. You are not going to run any more reconciliations against this pattern. You are not going to open any more files outside your normal rotation. You are not going to ask anyone a single question about Victor Cade. You are not even going to look at him in the hallway. Do you understand?" "I understand." "I need to know that you understand, Ivy." She met his eyes. "I understand, Roman." He almost breathed out. "I'm going to handle this," he said. "I'm going to handle this fast. I need 3 days, maybe 4. During those days, you are a junior analyst with a clean desk and no opinions. And if anyone asks you anything you don't know, you don't know. Are we clear?" "We're clear." "Is there anyone you've told about what you saw today?" "No." "Priya?" "No." "Your friend?" Mara. No? She paused. You remember her name? I remember a lot of things, Miss Hale, none of which is the point. Have you told Mara? No, not this, not the ledger. Good. Don't. He stood. He dropped a 10 on the counter for coffee he had not touched. He looked down at her for a second, and for a second only, something in his face was not the man in the corner office. It was the man who had stood in her hallway in a wet coat. Ivy, he said very quietly. Yes. Be careful on the way home. I will be. He left. She sat at the counter of Dunstan's for another half hour because she did not trust her legs. When she finally walked home, she walked down the busy avenues. She did not take the shortcut through the alley behind the dry cleaners that shaved 3 minutes off her commute. She did not answer her phone when it rang because the number was unknown. She triple-locked her door when she got in. She put her chain on, and then she took it off, and then she put it on again. She sat on her couch in her coat. Her phone buzzed once, a message from a number she did not have saved. I'm outside your building until you text me that you've locked your door. R. She got up. She went to her window. She pulled the curtain back an inch. There was a black car parked across the street, with its engine running. She could not see into it, but she knew. Locked, she typed. Chain 2. Good. Sleep. She watched from the window as the car pulled away, slow, quiet, eased into the traffic of the avenue, and was gone. She did not sleep. He took 3 days, the way he had said. On Friday afternoon at 2:47 p.m., there was a small, specific commotion on the 39th floor that most of the building never heard about. 2 men in suits Ivy did not recognize walked out of the elevator, walked down the hall to Victor Cade's office, went inside, and closed the door. They were in there for 18 minutes. When they came out, Victor Cade came with them, between them. He was not handcuffed. He was not making a scene. He was walking the way a man walks when he has been told that the alternative to walking is much, much worse. His face was gray. His hand was trembling on the strap of his briefcase. He did not look at the receptionist. He did not look at anyone. They put him in the service elevator instead of the regular one. Ivy, 3 floors down, did not see any of it. She was running, at that exact moment, a completely unremarkable reconciliation on a completely unremarkable subfund because she had been told to be a junior analyst with a clean desk and no opinions, and she had done exactly that for 3 days, without cracking. At 5:12 p.m., her phone buzzed. It's done. Go home. I'll explain what I can tonight. Not at your apartment. I'll send a car at 8. R. She read it twice. She deleted it because he had asked her to delete anything he sent. At 8:02 p.m., a black car was parked in front of her building. The driver was a young man in his 20s with a soft face and very alert eyes who introduced himself as Eli and did not tell her where they were going, only that he had been asked to bring her somewhere safe. She got in. The car pulled smoothly away from the curb. The city slid past in a rain-washed blur. She did not ask. Eli did not tell. They drove north, then east, then north again, through a neighborhood she didn't know. And the car pulled into an underground garage under a building with no name on the front, and Eli walked her through a concrete corridor to a private elevator. And the elevator rose and opened onto a foyer with a single door, and the door was already opening. Roman stood in it. He had taken the jacket off. His sleeves were rolled up to the elbow. His forearms were, she noticed with a kind of distant, hysterical clarity, extremely distracting. His hair was a mess, like he had been running his hand through it for hours. Come in, he said. She came in. The apartment was enormous and almost empty, floor-to-ceiling glass on 2 sides, a long, low couch in gray, a kitchen she could have driven a car through. On the counter were 2 empty tumblers and a bottle of something amber. He closed the door behind her. He locked it. He turned a deadbolt she didn't see him touch, and she heard somewhere in the walls a soft electronic tone that sounded like a system engaging. Are we safe here? She said. Yes. Are you sure? Ivy. I know. I'm sorry. You're being exactly the way a person should be. Sit down. She sat on the couch. He did not. He walked to the kitchen. He poured 2 fingers of the amber into one of the tumblers. He looked at her. Do you want one? Yes, a small one. He poured a small one. He brought it to her. He sat finally on the opposite end of the couch, with a sensible amount of space between them, which she appreciated and also, against her will, resented. Victor Cade, he said. Yes. Is no longer employed at DeLuca Holdings. Okay. He is also not going to be employed anywhere else for the rest of his natural life. Okay. He has been stealing from us for approximately 18 months. The pattern you spotted in Singapore and Dubai runs through 4 other sub-funds. It's approximately $9 million, laundered through a network of vendor shells controlled by a man named Bishop, who runs a competing operation. Cade has been selling us out, piece by piece, to Bishop. We found messages on a second phone in the lining of his briefcase. There's no ambiguity. She set the tumbler down very carefully on the coffee table because her hand had started shaking again. What is going to happen to him? She said. Roman looked at her. Do you want the answer to that question, Ivy? Or do you want me to tell you what I'm comfortable with you knowing? She thought about that. The second one, she said. He will not be seen again in the city. He will not come near you. He will not come near any member of his family. He will not make any phone calls we have not approved. That is what I can tell you. Is that enough? Yes. Good. He drank. His hand, she noticed, was not quite steady either. There's something else, he said. Okay. We don't think he acted alone. Specifically, we don't think Bishop is going to quietly absorb losing his source inside us. No? No. And one more thing. When our people went through Cade's apartment, they found a folder, photographs. Something in his voice had changed. She sat up a little straighter. Photographs of what? You. Her mouth went dry. Me. Of you leaving the building. Of you at the cafe on 5th and Barrow. Of you at Dunstan's on Wednesday night. Dunstan's. Yes. He was watching me. He was having you watched. There's a difference. He wasn't the one with the camera. He was the one receiving the photographs. From Bishop. We think so. She felt her face go cold. How long? She said. At least 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Since the Singapore reconciliation, since the minute you pulled that $3 thread. She sat very still. Roman. Yes. I'm scared. He did not say don't be. He did not say it'll be fine. He looked at her for a long moment, and then he set his glass down on the coffee table next to hers, and he leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and he said very quietly, Good. Stay scared. Scared people are careful. I need you careful right now. She nodded. Until we know what Bishop is going to do, he said, you're not going back to your apartment alone. Eli is going to stay with you. He's going to drive you to and from work. He's going to wait in the lobby of your building when you're home. He's going to sleep on your couch, if I have to make him do it at gunpoint. Is that acceptable to you? That's a lot. It's what I can do without keeping you in a building you did not choose to be in. She swallowed. Okay. And Ivy? Yes. Something arrived at your building today before I could get anyone there. I didn't want to tell you in a text. The concierge intercepted it and called my people before it went up. What? A bouquet. A bouquet? Black roses. A dozen. No card. She stared at him. That's not subtle, she said. Her voice came out thin. No, he said. It's not subtle. It's a message. It's Bishop saying I see her. She looked down at her hands. They were cold. The apartment was not cold. Somewhere, outside the wall of glass, a helicopter crossed the river and its blades made the windows hum faintly in their frames. And she thought about being 27, and about a job she had wanted because it paid well, and about a Friday night 10 days ago when she had, without meaning to, sent a photograph to the wrong man, and about the way the back of his knuckles had felt against her jaw, and about how her whole life had changed shape, quietly, in a doorway, without her noticing until it was already done. Roman. Yes. I don't want to go home tonight. He did not move. I'm not asking you to, he said. The guest room is made up. There are clothes. There's a door that locks. I'll sleep out here. Okay. Okay. Neither of them moved. The silence stretched. Outside, the helicopter was gone. The city hummed distantly. Roman. Yes, Ivy. I'm glad it was you. She could not afterwards say exactly why she had said it. She had not planned it. It came out of her mouth before she knew it was a sentence. He closed his eyes. For one whole second, he closed his eyes. And when he opened them, she saw, for the second time since she had met him, the shape of a much younger man inside the very old one. "Go to bed, Ivy," he said softly. "Please." She got up. She did not look back at him. She went down the hall to the guest room, and she closed the door, and she leaned her back against it, and she put her hand flat over her own heart, and she held it there, as if she could keep the thing inside her chest from doing what it was already doing, which was making up its mind. She did not sleep well in the guest room, but she slept better than she had expected to, which felt, in the morning, like a small betrayal of her own nerves. The bed was enormous, and the sheets smelled of nothing in particular, which was the tell that they had been washed very recently and made up by a person who was paid to make up beds in apartments that did not have regular guests. There were clothes hanging in the closet in a range of sizes. There was a toothbrush still in its plastic on the bathroom counter. There was a phone charger that matched her phone. None of it, she noticed, had been done carelessly. He had prepared the room before she had ever said yes. She lay in the dark for a long time, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere, out beyond the bedroom door and down the hall, Roman DeLuca was on a couch that was not designed for a man of his height, and she thought about that. And she thought about the way he had closed his eyes for one whole second when she had said, "I'm glad it was you." And she thought about the black roses in the lobby of her building, and about Victor Cade's gray face, and about the fact that somewhere in the city, right now, a man named Bishop, whom she had never met and would never want to meet, knew what she looked like. She thought about all of it at once, in layers, the way a person thinks in the dark. And at some point around 4 in the morning, without deciding to, she fell asleep. She woke to the smell of coffee. Not good coffee. Aggressive coffee. The kind of coffee a man makes when he has given up on the idea of sleep some hours ago. She got up. She pulled on the softest of the clothes in the closet, a pair of gray sweatpants and a white t-shirt that was 2 sizes too big, and she splashed water on her face and she opened the door. Roman was in the kitchen. He was in the same gray sweater from the night before. His sleeves were still rolled. He had not shaved. He was looking out the window at the river, which was pewter-colored in the early light, and he was holding a mug in both hands like he had forgotten it was there. He heard her and turned. "Morning," he said. "Morning." "Sleep?" "A little. You?" "Some." "You slept on the couch." "I said I would." "Yes, but Ivy." I know. Sorry." She patted across the floor in bare feet. The cold of the tiles shocked her a little. He slid a second mug across the counter toward her without asking if she wanted it. "Sugar's in the thing," he said, nodding at a small ceramic jar. "There's oat milk in the fridge. I bought it last night." "You went to the store last night." "I sent someone." "Of course you did." She poured the oat milk. The color of the coffee in her mug turned from black to the exact color of her Monday latte from Lorette's, and something in her chest went absolutely haywire at the sight of it, and she had to pretend very carefully that it didn't. She took a sip. It was too hot. She drank it anyway. "So," she said. "So. How long am I here?" He set his mug down. He braced both hands on the counter. She realized, looking at him, that he had been awake planning this part. "That depends on what you can stand," he said. "The honest answer is that until we have Bishop contained, you are not going to be safer anywhere else. Not at your apartment with Eli on your couch. Not at a hotel with a fake name on the reservation. Not at your friend's place, because your friend's place is in your phone and in your credit card records and would take someone with Bishop's resources about 4 hours to find. Here's the most secure building I can put you in. Here has people at the door I've known since I was 12 years old. Here has a second exit you haven't been shown yet, and a floor plan that isn't on any blueprint that was ever filed with the city. This is where I would put a person I loved." The word landed on the counter between them like a dropped spoon. He seemed to hear it himself a half-second after it came out. He did not walk it back. He did not apologize for it. He just let it sit there and reached for his coffee and drank. "Okay," she said carefully. "You don't have to stay," he said. "I want to be clear. If you want to go home, Eli drives you home right now and he sleeps on your couch, and I sleep in a chair in your hallway if I have to. You are not being kept anywhere. You are being offered a door." You would not actually sleep in a chair in my hallway. I would absolutely sleep in a chair in your hallway. Your back would never forgive you. My back has survived worse. She did smile at that. It was a small one, but it was the first smile she had smiled in about 20 hours, and her face remembered how. I'll stay, she said. For now. A few days. A few days. A few days, she said, firmer. Okay. He took another sip. He set the mug down. Some ground rules, he said. For both of us. This is not... He stopped. He started again. What I said to you in my office still stands. I am not going to take advantage of the fact that you are sleeping under my roof because of something I promised to keep you safe from. If anything happens between you and me in the next however many days, it is not going to happen because you woke up scared at 3 in the morning and needed a person. It is going to happen because you walked into a room and said it, and you are never going to feel like it is the rent. She looked down into her coffee. Okay, she said. Second thing. Yes. You work from here during the day. I have set up an office in the second bedroom. Secure laptop, secure line. You report to Harrow the same way you would at the office. As far as Harrow knows, you are working remotely because of a family emergency. That is the cover. Don't improve it. Simpler stories survive longer. Okay? Third thing. Yes. When I'm in the building, I'm in the building. When I leave, Eli is in the building. There is never a time you are here alone in this apartment with no one else in it. Not because I think you can't take care of yourself, but because one of the rules of this kind of situation is that you don't give the other side a single empty minute. Do you understand? I understand. Fourth thing. There's a fourth thing? There's a fourth thing. Mara. Oh, you need to call her. Today. You need to tell her you're fine, you're working from home on a family thing, and you will call her when you can. You are not going to tell her anything else. She is going to push. You are going to hold. If she shows up at your apartment and you're not there, which she will, we're going to handle that. But you're going to call her today because she is going to call you about 15 times starting at 10 a.m. And if you don't pick up at least once, she will get on a plane and find you. She'd find me. I don't doubt it. Fifth thing. The fifth thing is that this is going to be hard. Harder than you think. Not the being scared part, the being inside part, the not going to work part, the not seeing your friend part, the eating dinner with me part. I want you to tell me when it starts to be too much. I want you to tell me before it gets bad. I want you to tell me in words, because I'm not going to read your mind, Ivy. I don't want you to read my mind. That's terrifying. It's also an unreasonable standard for a man. Roman. Yes, I will tell you. Good. Is there a sixth thing? He looked at her. Probably, he said, but we'll get to it. And that was how she ended up living, temporarily, in the corner of a building that did not have its name on the front, in a neighborhood she did not know, with a man she had known for less than 3 weeks, in clothes that were not hers, on a schedule that pretended to be normal. The days developed a shape fast, the way days do when a person is trying hard to make them. Mornings, she woke early because the light through the wall of glass was merciless, and she did not want to pull the shades and pretend it was night. She made coffee. Sometimes Roman was already gone to the office by the time she came out. Sometimes he was still at the counter, dressed, reading something on his phone, waiting for Eli to bring the car around. On those mornings, he would look up at her when she came in and say, "Morning," the same even way he said it every day, and she would say, "Morning," the same even way, and they would drink their coffee for a while in the quiet, and then he would go. Midday, she worked. The second bedroom had been fitted out overnight with a desk, 2 monitors, a very expensive chair, and a landline phone she did not ever touch. She ran reconciliations. She sent them up to Harrow on the 42nd floor, and Harrow, who had bought the family emergency cover without questioning it because Harrow did not like emotional conversations, sent them back with his normal grunted edits. She ate lunch at the kitchen counter. Eli, who was shyer than he looked, ate his own lunch at the far end of the counter and mostly did not talk, though he turned out to have an opinion about almost every sandwich place in a 6-block radius. And she learned, by the end of the first week, to ask his opinion, which pleased him quietly. Afternoons, she allowed herself one walk. Eli accompanied her. They went to a park 9 blocks south that had a running track and a pond with turtles in it. She walked the track 3 times. Eli walked behind her, not quite at her shoulder, not far enough to be out of reach. The first time a man with a beagle asked her for the time, she almost jumped out of her skin, and Eli stepped very smoothly between them until the man with the beagle backed away. After that, Ivy stopped wearing a watch so that she had an answer to give when someone asked. Evenings were the part she had not prepared for, because in the evenings, Roman came home. And home was the wrong word, she knew that. It was not his home, not really. It was one of his buildings, one of the bolt holes, one of the apartments he kept in case of... She didn't know, in case of. But it was where he slept during the days she was there, and he came back to it in the evenings a little after 7, and he put his keys in a dish by the door, and he hung his coat, and he said every single time, "Hey," in a voice that had lost, somewhere in the elevator, the tone he used in the office. And every single time her traitor heart did the same small, stupid thing it had done the morning she had seen her coffee turn the color of Lorette's. The first evening, they made pasta. Together, she meant. She had offered, because it felt insane to sit across from him and have him do everything. And he had looked at her sideways and said, "You're going to cook." And she had said, "Unless you want to eat whatever a man named Roman DeLuca thinks pasta tastes like." And he had, for the first time in her presence, actually laughed. A short one, quickly buried, but a laugh. "All right," he said, "you cook. I'll be the commis." The what? The chef's assistant, in a kitchen. Oh my... Of course you know restaurant kitchen terms. I dated a chef for 6 months when I was 24. I was bad at it. At dating or at being a commis? Both. She chopped garlic. He chopped onions badly. He chopped them the way a man who has been handed knives his whole life for other reasons chops onions, with a very confident and very incorrect grip. She watched him for about 30 seconds before she said, "Stop, Roman, stop. You're going to take your thumb off." "I'm fine." "You are chopping an onion like a mob man." "I am a..." He caught himself. He huffed. "That's offensive." "It's true, though." "Show me." She showed him. She walked around the counter, and she stood next to him, and she put her hand over his on the handle of the knife, and she adjusted his grip, and she felt with every nerve in her body the exact moment he went still. She did not look up at him. She could not have. If she had looked up at him, she would have fallen into his face and never come out. She kept her eyes on the onion. She moved his hand gently into the right position. She said, "There. Rock the blade, don't chop it. See?" "Yes." "Don't impale yourself." "I'll try not to." She stepped back. She went back to her side of the counter. Her ears, she could feel, were red. Her pulse was in her wrists. He finished the onion. Better this time. They ate at the counter, not at the dining table, which was too long and felt too formal. He had opened a bottle of wine. He drank a half glass. She drank a full one. "So," she said, when the pasta was almost gone, "tell me something." "About what?" "About you. I've been in your guest room for 2 days. I know what you like in your coffee. I know what time you leave in the morning. I know that you can't chop an onion. I don't know anything real." He set his fork down. "What do you want to know?" "I don't know. Something real. Something a person would tell a person. I can't eat another meal across from you and not know anything about you, Roman. It's going to make me crazy." He was quiet for a long moment. He looked down at his plate. He pushed a bit of pasta across it with his fork, not eating it, just moving it. "My mother died when I was 11, he said, finally. "She was from a town in Sicily you've never heard of, and she spoke 4 languages, and she was the only person in my entire family who did not think what my father did for a living was acceptable. She tried for about 8 years to get us out. When she died of an aneurysm. Nothing romantic, nothing dramatic. She sat down at the kitchen table one morning, and she didn't get back up. I was the one who found her." "Roman, that's not why I'm telling you. I'm telling you because after she died, my father sat me down in the study, and he said to me, 'Now you pay attention. Now you learn.' And I did. I learned what he wanted me to learn. I learned it so well that by the time I was 19, I was better at his business than he was. By the time I was 25, I was running most of it. He died 4 years ago. I cried at his funeral because that's what you do at your father's funeral. I didn't cry for him. I cried because I realized standing at the grave that I had become exactly what my mother had spent 8 years trying to keep me from becoming, and that there was no one left alive who was going to hold that against me. That was the worst part of the funeral, the not being held accountable. He picked up his wine glass. He did not drink. He put it down again. "So," he said, "that's something real." She could not speak for a moment. "Thank you," she said, eventually. "Yeah." "For telling me." "Yeah." She reached across the counter. She put her hand over his. She did not lace her fingers through his. She did not squeeze. She just laid her hand over the back of his hand for 3 seconds, and then she took it back. His hand did not move either way. His jaw did. "Your turn," he said, rough. "My turn what?" "Something real." Ivy. Okay. She blew out a breath. "My dad left when I was 6. Not dramatically. He went to work one Tuesday and he didn't come home. And then about 4 months later, there was a postcard from Arizona. That's it. No, nothing since. My mom raised me and my sister by herself on the salary of an elementary school nurse. My sister Caroline is the reason I went into finance, because when I was in high school, Caroline got sick, and the bills nearly ate us, and I decided at 17 that I was never going to let a hospital bill make my mother look the way she looked that year. Caroline's fine now. She teaches yoga in Oregon. She's got 2 kids. I send my mom money every month and she pretends she doesn't need it. That's me. And I was not raised for the inside of an apartment like this, Roman. I want to be clear about that. I know. I'm not... This isn't... I know. You're not dazzled. I believe you. She laughed, a little, watery. I am a little dazzled by the shower, if I'm honest. The shower is unreal. The shower is very good. Whoever designed that shower should get a prize. I'll pass it along. You know the guy who designed the shower? I know everyone. God, Roman. Sorry. They ate the last of the pasta. They did the dishes together. He washed, she dried, because he had said, flatly, I am not standing next to you while you dry dishes. And she had said, fine, you wash then. And he had. And it turned out that Roman DeLuca was extremely particular about rinsing forks, which was a piece of information she decided she would carry with her into her grave. The second evening, they watched a movie. Something old, black and white. She picked it. He fell asleep 30 minutes in with his head tipped back against the couch, and she watched him for a while instead of the screen because he did not look. When he was asleep, like a man who ran things. He looked like a man who was 34 and tired. The third evening, Mara called. Mara had been calling, as predicted, about 15 times a day. Ivy had been picking up once a day, dutifully, and delivering the family emergency cover which Mara had swallowed on Tuesday, chewed on Wednesday, and by Thursday evening was refusing to eat. Ivy. Hi. Ivy, I'm going to say this once, and then I'm going to hang up and come find you. What is going on? I told you. Ivy Marie Hale, I have known you since we were 9. Your family emergency is your mother? Your mother, who I spoke to this morning, who is playing tennis in New Jersey and is in perfect health, and who did not know you were having a family emergency. Ivy closed her eyes. You called my mom. Of course I called your mom. Mara, where are you? I can't. Ivy, I am your best friend. I have covered for you in literally every crisis of your adult life. I held your hair the time you got food poisoning at my cousin's wedding. I lied to your landlord when your cat tore up the carpet. You do not get to family emergency me. Ivy looked across the living room. Roman was on the couch, reading something on his phone. He had clocked the shift in her voice. He looked up. He did not say anything. She covered the phone with her hand. It's Mara, she said. She called my mother. My mother does not know about the family emergency. Roman set his phone down. He thought for a second. How much do you want to tell her? He said. I don't know, not a lot, but She's going to drive to my building. She's going to drive to my building tonight, Roman. He nodded, once. Invite her, he said. What? Invite her here, tonight. You need a friend, Ivy, and I'd rather she see you safe than go to your building and tear up your hallway and attract attention. We'll have her dropped off by a car we trust. She won't know the address. We'll tell her only what you want her to know." Ivy stared at him. "You are," she said, "you are really just going to let a 28-year-old paralegal named Mara Abernathy into your safe apartment? Yes? Without vetting her?" "I had her vetted on Monday." "You had my best friend vetted. Ivy. Roman. She's fine. She had a DUI in college. She has $11,000 of credit card debt. Her lease is up in August, and she is madly in love with a bartender named Sanjay, who does not know she exists. I had her vetted. She is not a threat." "I don't know whether to be furious or grateful." "Be both." She uncovered the phone. "Mara." "Yes. Can you get in an Uber in 10 minutes? A car is going to meet you at your building, a black car. Its license plate starts with K72. You're going to get in the black car, and it is going to bring you somewhere. You're not going to ask the driver questions. You're going to come see me, and I'm going to tell you a lot of things, but not on this phone and not in this city. Can you do that?" There was a very long silence on the line. "Ivy? Yes? Are you safe?" "I am safer than I have been in 2 weeks." Is this a boy thing?" "Mara, I swear to it is not just a boy thing." That wasn't a no. No, it wasn't. A shorter silence. 10 minutes, Mara said. 10 minutes. K72. K72. Ivy. "Yes. You better have a very good story." "I have an unbelievable story." "Good." Mara hung up. Ivy set the phone down. She looked at Roman. "You," she said, "are a disturbingly well-organized person." "Thank you. That was not a compliment. I'm taking it as one anyway." 45 minutes later, Mara Abernathy walked through the foyer of an apartment in a building without a name, in a neighborhood she could not have pointed to on a map, still in the pajama top she had thrown a coat over, and she looked at Ivy, and she looked at Roman, and she looked back at Ivy, and she said very slowly, Oh, we are in so much trouble." "Hi, Mara," Roman said. "Don't I, Mara, me, I know who you are." "Okay, Ivy, a word." They went to the guest room. Mara closed the door. "Ivy, I know. Ivy, is he?" "Yes." "And you?" "Yes." "And what is all of this, Ivy, who has guards in a hallway? That's Eli. Eli is very big. Eli is actually very sweet." "Ivy." Mara. Mara sat on the bed. Ivy sat next to her. And for the next 40 minutes, quietly, with the door closed, Ivy told her best friend as much as she was allowed to tell. The wrong photo, the doorway, the $3, Singapore, Dubai, Victor Cade, the black roses, the car across the street, the guest room with the toothbrush still in the plastic. She did not tell her about the onions. She did not tell her about his mother. Some things she kept. When she finished, Mara was quiet for a long time. "Ivy." "Yes. I need you to answer me a question." "Okay." "Are you in love with him?" Ivy opened her mouth. She closed it. "Mara, are you?" "I've known him for 3 weeks." "That's not what I asked." "I don't know." "Ivy." "I don't know, Mara. I know that when he's in the room, I can feel where he is without looking. I know that he told me about his mother last night, and I cried in the shower afterwards. I know that he sleeps on a couch that is 6 inches too short for him every single night because he won't come near me while I'm in this apartment for any reason other than work. I know that he went to the grocery store at midnight so that I could have the right oat milk in the morning. I know that I am 27 years old, and I have never, in my whole life, had a man pay that kind of attention to me, and I do not know what to do with it, Mara. I genuinely do not know what to do with it." Mara looked at her for a long time. "Oh, honey," she said softly. "Yeah." "Oh, honey." "Yeah." Mara hugged her. Ivy let herself be hugged. They sat there for a while. "You need to be so careful," Mara said into her hair. "I know." "Ivy." "I know." They went back out. Roman had laid out a cheese board on the counter, because of course he had. Mara accepted a glass of wine with the suspicion of a woman accepting a bribe, and she drank it, and she asked Roman 3 questions that were designed, Ivy could tell, to catch him in a lie. And he answered all 3 of them in a way that was neither defensive nor rehearsed. And by the end of the second glass, Mara had not softened exactly, Mara never softened, but recalibrated. When Eli walked her back down to the car at 11, she hugged Ivy at the door. "Call me every day," Mara whispered. "Every single day. If I don't hear from you by 6, I'm calling the police, and I don't care how many DeLucas have to explain themselves." "I will." "And Ivy." "Yes." "He is so into you, I am actually a little afraid for him." "Mara, love you, be smart." Mara left. Ivy closed the door. She leaned against it. Roman was at the counter wiping the cheese board down, because of course he was also a man who wiped down cheese boards. He glanced up at her. He did not smile. His eyes did, a little. "She's terrifying," he said. "She is." "I like her." "She likes you. Against her will. She'll deny it in the morning." "Good." They cleaned up. They turned the lights down. It was very late. The apartment was very quiet. The city, through the wall of glass, had reached the part of the night where it went blue-gray instead of yellow. He said, "Ivy." "Yes." "There's something I have to tell you before you go to bed." Something in her stomach dropped. She turned. "Something happened today, while you were on the walk with Eli." "Okay. We had someone outside your building. Standard rotation, just watching the foyer. This afternoon, someone drove past your building 4 times. Slowly. Different cars, say 3 different cars, rented, all to the same shell company. Same driver. Roman. He didn't stop. He didn't get out. He just drove by. 4 times, over 90 minutes. He was checking. He was checking to see if you were there." "Oh, he doesn't know where you are. That is the point. He doesn't. If he did, he wouldn't drive by the old address 4 times. But he is now actively looking for you, and I am not going to lie to you about that because you are the kind of person I have to tell." She nodded. "Okay. Are you okay?" "Not really." "Okay. Come here." She looked at him. "No, Ivy. Come here. Just for a second. Just come stand here. I'm not going to do anything. Come here." She walked over to him. He did not hug her. He did not touch her face. He put one hand very carefully on the top of her head, and he held it there for a moment, the way a person might steady something fragile. It was not a romantic gesture. It was closer to the gesture of a man trying to transmit something he could not say. "I have you, Shad," he said quietly. "You understand? I have you. He doesn't get near you. I don't care what it costs." She closed her eyes. "Okay," she whispered. He took his hand off her head. "Go to bed," he said. She went. She lay in the guest bed in the dark, and she thought, not for the first time, that she was in trouble. Not the Bishop kind of trouble. The other kind. The kind nobody had ever warned her about, because the people who warned you about men like Roman DeLuca always assumed that the trouble with them was obvious, and the thing nobody had warned her was that the real trouble with a man like that was not the gun in the safe, or the 2-bedroom safe house, or the car outside the building. The real trouble was that when he put his hand on the top of your head and said, "I have you," in a voice that had not for one syllable performed, you believed him. You believed him in your body. You believed him in your bones. And once a person believed a man like that with their bones, there was no unbelieving him. She fell asleep with the lights on. In the other room, down the hall, Roman sat on the couch that was 6 inches too short for him, and he did not try to lie down yet. He had his phone in his hand. He was looking at a photograph. It was not a photograph of Ivy. It was a photograph of a man in his 50s with a thin mouth and pale eyes climbing out of a black SUV outside a warehouse 2 states over. The photograph was 3 days old. Bishop. Roman looked at the photograph for a long time. He did not blink. He did not move. His face was the blankest it had been all week, which meant, to anyone who knew how to read him, and there were 3 men alive who did, that a decision had been made. He put the phone down. He sent one text to a number without a name. "We're done waiting. Set it up." He deleted the message. He turned off the lamp. And in the dark, in an apartment that had no name on the front of its building, in a city that did not know what was about to happen inside it, 2 people slept in separate rooms, the way they had agreed for the last time. The thing about a decision made at 2 in the morning by a man like Roman DeLuca is that it does not announce itself. It simply begins to take up space in the apartment the way weather takes up space in a room. The light changes, the air pressure shifts, and the people who live there know something is coming before any of them can say what. Ivy felt it when she woke up on the 5th morning. She could not have said what was different. The coffee was still brewing, the river was still pewter-colored, but Roman was at the counter, fully dressed, and he was not reading anything on his phone. He was not doing anything with his hands. He was just standing there, looking out the window, and the line of his shoulders had a quality to it that she had not seen since the night she had told him about the Dubai file. It was the quality of a man who had already moved, who was already somewhere his body had not caught up to yet. "Morning," she said, cautiously. "Morning. You're up early." Is something, Nothing today, just a long one." "Okay." He poured her coffee without being asked. He slid it across. He did not meet her eyes. "Roman." "Yes." "You're lying to me." He stopped with his hand on the mug. "I'm not lying," he said. "I'm not telling you." "That's lying." "It is, and it isn't." "Roman, look at me." He looked at her. His face was the blankest she had seen it, and she understood in a way she could not have articulated that this was not because he was hiding something from her out of indifference. This was because if he let even a crack of what was underneath show through, he would not be able to close it back up in time for whatever was waiting for him today. "Today I'm going to be gone most of the day," he said. "Eli is with you. 2 other men are in the building. You are not going to leave the apartment. You are not going to take the walk. You are not going to answer the door if someone knocks. You are not going to answer the phone if someone calls on any line other than mine. Are we clear?" "Roman, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to end this. End Ivy." "Don't Ivy me. End what? The driving past your building? The roses? The photographs? All of it. I'm ending it today." She set the mug down very slowly. "How?" "I'm going to meet with Bishop." "You... what?" "I'm going to meet with Bishop." Like in a room, like sitting across a table, like 2 men working it out. Roman, that is, it's not what you think. You don't know what I think. You think I'm walking into something to make it bleed. I'm not. Sit down." "I'm not, Ivy. Sit down, please." She sat on one of the stools at the counter. Her coffee was getting cold. She did not care. "Bishop is not..." Roman took a breath. "Bishop is not the kind of man you put in a shallow grave and move on. He has his own people and his own reach, and if I try to make him disappear, I start a war with a man 2 states away that will cost me people I love and people you have never met. That is not the right play. The right play is a conversation, across a table, in a place we both agree on, with rules that both of us are going to follow, because the only thing worse for him than sitting down with me is not sitting down with me." "And you go unarmed?" "No, I go armed. He goes armed. Everyone in the room is armed. That's part of why it works. If anyone fires a shot in that room, it ends everyone, including him." "Roman, I've done this before, Ivy. I've done this since I was 24. This is not the thing you're afraid of." "What is the thing I should be afraid of? That it will go long, that I won't be home when I said I would be, that he and I will sit in a room for 9 hours because that's how long it takes 2 men to back out of a corner without losing face, that I will text you and say, 'Another hour, 4 times in a row, and you will be here and the sun will go down and you won't know if it means another hour or if it means something worse.' That is the thing I cannot fix for you today. I can't make that not happen. I can only promise you that when the thing is done, I will come home." "Roman, yes. Don't promise me that. Ivy, don't promise me you'll come home. Don't do that to me. Don't make me a woman who sits in a kitchen and waits for a promise. I can't be that person. Not for anyone. I watched my mother be that person for a year after my father left, and I swore to God when I was 7 years old that I would never." She stopped. Her hand was pressed to her mouth. She realized with some distant disgust, crying. He came around the counter. He stopped 2 feet short of her. He did not touch her. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. I won't promise you that. I'll promise you something else. What? That if I am not going to make it home, you will know. You will know before anyone else in this city knows. Eli will get a call. He will tell you himself. You will not sit here wondering. That is what I can promise you. Does that work? No. Ivy. No, it doesn't work, Roman, but it's the one I can take. Yes. That one. Okay. Okay. He reached up slowly, and he did that thing again. The thing he had done 2 nights ago, his hand flat on the top of her head, steady, like he was anchoring her to the floor. And he held it there for 3 seconds, and he took it away. I'll call you at 4, he said. Okay? If I don't call you at 4, it is because the meeting is running long, not because anything is wrong. Do not let your head do the thing it wants to do. Okay? Eat something today. Okay? Ivy. Yes. It's going to be fine. You don't know that. No, but I believe it, and I'm asking you to believe it with me for 11 hours. She nodded. She could not trust her mouth. He left. She heard the front door close. She heard the lock engage. She heard Eli's voice, very low, in the hallway, saying something to another man. She heard the elevator hum down the shaft. She heard the building swallow the sound of Roman DeLuca going to do whatever a man like Roman DeLuca did on a day like this. She sat on the stool. She did not move for a long time. Eventually, she got up. She poured the cold coffee out. She made new coffee. She drank it. She showered. She got dressed. She opened the second bedroom, and she sat at the desk, and she ran 2 reconciliations, poorly, without really reading them, and she sent them to Hale, and Hale wrote back within 40 minutes. Hale, these aren't to standard. Try again. And she stared at his email and thought, you small petty little man. And she wrote back, you're right. Apologies. We'll redo by end of day. Because she could not afford to be noticed today by anyone. She ate a piece of toast at 11 because Roman had said to eat. At 12, Eli knocked gently on the office door. Miss Hale. Yes. I just want to tell you that he checked in. They're at the location. Everything is normal. He can't text you while he's in there because his phone is not on him. I'm the one he called. I just wanted you to know. Thank you, Eli. Yes, ma'am. Eli? Yes, ma'am. How many times have you done this for him? He paused. He considered. He scratched the back of his neck. Twice, he said, in 4 years. Both times he came home. Okay. It's a very low number, ma'am, for what it's worth. Thanks. Do you want a sandwich, ma'am? She almost laughed. She almost cried. No, Eli, thank you. I'm fine. He closed the door. At 1, she made herself work. Not well. Some. At 2, she walked out into the living room and she sat on the couch and she stared at the river. At 3, she turned on a cooking show because she needed to hear a human voice that was not in her head. And she watched a woman in an apron in a kitchen in somebody else's country make a cake and laugh about it. And the laughter was so ordinary and so foreign that Ivy felt it like a small, kind punch to the chest. At 4, her phone rang. She grabbed it off the couch like it was something she was saving from drowning. Roman. Hi. Are you? I'm fine. It's going. It's going to go longer. Another couple hours, maybe 3. We're in the good part. He's reasonable. He's being reasonable. We're working it out. Okay. I wanted to call because I said I would. Okay. Are you all right? No, Roman, I am absolutely not all right, but I am doing it. Good. Come home. I will. Soon. Soon. Don't. What? Don't be a hero. I won't. I mean it. I mean it back, Ivy. I'm 34 years old and I have never in my life wanted less to be a hero than I do today. There was a pause. Roman. Yes. Hurry up. I'm hurrying. He hung up. It was the longest 3 hours of her life. She would, years later, remember that afternoon in the texture of things, not the shape, the feel of the stitching on the couch under her fingers, the sound of a faucet dripping in a bathroom down the hall that nobody was going to fix until tomorrow, The way the light changed on the river from pewter to pink to gray in a rhythm she could time without looking. At 7:26, she heard the elevator hum. She stood up. She heard the key in the lock. She heard the door open. She heard Eli, very quietly, say, "Welcome back, sir." She heard Roman say, "Thanks, Eli. Get some sleep. I've got her tonight." The door closed. She was already walking toward the foyer. She was not running. Her body was doing something between walking and running that she had no name for. He came around the corner into the living room and she stopped short. He looked tired. He looked tired the way a person looks after a very long, hard thing has ended and they have not yet put the ending down. His tie was undone and hanging around his neck. His jacket was over his arm. His hair was pushed back hard off his forehead, the way it went when he had run a hand through it too many times. There was no blood. There were no marks. He was whole. He dropped the jacket on the back of a chair. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They stood there. He opened his mouth. He closed it. He opened it again. "It's done," he said. It's done. He's not coming near you. He's not coming near the company. We gave up a piece of something we were going to give up anyway. He took it. He's going home. It's done, Ivy. It's Roman. Yes. I need you to stop talking for a second." "Okay." She walked across the room to him. She did not walk fast. She walked the way a person walks across a frozen pond, deliberately, listening for the cracks. He watched her walk. He did not move. He had his hands at his sides. He had opened them. They were still. She stopped a foot in front of him. "Roman." "Yes." "I'm going to say something." "Okay. And I want to say it here, in this room, at 7:30 in the evening, in clothes you bought me after you came home because you asked me once to say it in a room and I didn't." "Okay. I want this." He did not move. "I don't know what this is," she said. "I don't know what we are. I don't know if this is the worst idea I've had in my entire life. I don't know if my mother's going to have a stroke when I explain it to her. I don't know if in 2 years I'm going to look back at the woman standing in this room and think you were out of your mind. I don't know any of that. I don't care. I am telling you here in this room that I want this. Not because I'm scared, not because you kept me safe, not because you were kind to me. I'm telling you because the thought of walking out of this apartment and not knowing what your face looks like when you wake up is not a thought I can have anymore. That's what I'm saying. That's the sentence. I picked the room. I picked the time. I'm saying it." He closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were very bright. "Ivy." "Yes." "Can I kiss you?" "Yes." He kissed her. It was nothing like the kiss in her doorway. That kiss had been a man asking a question. This kiss was not a question. This was a man who had come home. It was not rough. It was not hungry. It was, she would think about it afterward, and she would think the only word for it was grateful. He kissed her like he was thanking her, with his hands on either side of her face, very carefully, his thumbs under her jaw, and he kissed her until her breath was not her own anymore. And then he pulled back a fraction and rested his forehead against hers, and he said, very low, "I have wanted to do that for 3 weeks. I know. Not, Ivy, I want to be clear, not in your apartment. I mean this. The way I'm doing it now, I've wanted to do it this way since a Tuesday morning in my office when you told me you didn't know what you wanted. Roman, yes. I want to go to bed. Yes. Not the guest room. No. With you. Yes. Okay. Okay." He did not rush her down the hallway. He took her hand and he walked her. And when they got to his door, the door she had not yet in all these days been through, he stopped, one hand on the frame, and he looked at her, and he said one more time, "Ivy, are you sure?" "Yes." "Not because I came home." "No, because of you." "Okay." He opened the door. And in the hours that followed, in a bedroom that was much smaller than the living room and had only one window, and a bed that looked almost like an ordinary bed, 2 people who had been working very hard for several weeks to stay on opposite sides of a line, quietly, honestly, and without performance, walked across it and closed the door behind them. And for the first time in what felt, to Ivy Hale, like her entire adult life, She was not careful. She woke once, around 3 in the morning. The room was dark. The city was humming, very distant, through the glass. Roman was asleep, on his side, one arm across her. His face against the pillow looked like a stranger's. Younger, not quite as set. There was a small scar she had not seen before. A thin line under his left eye, low on the cheekbone. The kind of scar a person gets from something hitting them once, hard, a long time ago, and healing badly. She looked at it for a long time. She did not touch it. She did not want to wake him. She thought, I am not going home. Not back to the apartment on the 4th floor of the pre-war walk-up. Not back to the kitchen floor with the cheap Chardonnay, not ever in the same shape. The thought did not frighten her. That was what frightened her. She put her head down. She went back to sleep. His arm tightened a little in his sleep and did not let go. In the morning, things were not different exactly. The coffee was still coffee. The river was still pewter. Eli still nodded at her very seriously from his post by the door. Roman was at the counter in a t-shirt and the sweatpants from a drawer she had not previously known existed, and his hair was a mess and he had not shaved, and when she came out he did not say morning in the same flat voice he had used all week. He said, come here, without turning around, because he had heard her coming, and she came over and he handed her a mug, and he kissed her on the side of the head like it was a thing he had been doing for 10 years. Stop looking at me like that, he said. Like what? Like you're waiting for me to take it back. I'm not waiting for you to take it back. You're a little bit waiting for me to take it back. Maybe a little. I'm not taking it back. Okay? Okay. He made her eggs. She had not known he could make eggs. He made her eggs with absolute confidence, and they were, in fact, perfect eggs, because of course they were. Roman DeLuca, she said. Can you cook? Don't tell anyone. It will ruin me. Your image. My image. I will destroy your image. Please don't. They ate. They laughed a little. It felt for 40 minutes like the apartment was not a safe house and the city outside was not a city where a man named Bishop had, until yesterday, been receiving photographs of her. Eli knocked on the door to the kitchen around 9. Sir. Eli. The building has a delivery. What kind of delivery? A bouquet, sir. Everything in Ivy's body went absolutely still. Roman set his fork down very carefully. I thought, she heard herself say from somewhere outside her own body, that it was done. It is, Roman said. He was looking at Eli. Eli. From where? Florist on Delaney. Regular one, standing order, clean. Who's it from? Eli held up a small white card already in a glove. You, sir. A pause. Roman slowly blinked. I didn't. No, sir, you didn't. The silence in the kitchen was enormous. Someone, Eli said evenly, sent Miss Hale a bouquet to this address. In your name. Your name is written on the card. They used a florist you've used before, with a standing note that looks like it came off your secretary's computer. It's very clean, sir. Very professionally done. Roman stood up. Eli. Sir. How does somebody we don't know have this address? I don't know, sir. I'm finding out. How does somebody we don't know that Miss Hale is here? Sir. Eli. How? I don't know, sir. Yet. I will. The bouquet. Destroyed, sir. Photographed first. Already sent up. Colors. White, sir. White? White roses, sir. Dozen. With the card. Your name. A line. Welcome home. Ivy put her hand over her mouth. Roman's jaw set. Everybody in this building that we put here, I want on a list on my phone in the next 10 minutes. Everybody who has ever seen her enter or leave this unit, the next 20. Delphine. I want Delphine on the phone first. She's the only person in my office who could have pulled the standing florist note off my calendar. Sir, with respect, Delphine has been with your family for... I know how long Delphine has been with us, Eli. I'm not accusing her. I'm asking who had access to her computer. Yes, sir. Go. Eli went. The kitchen, without him, was a small, cold room. Roman turned to Ivy. He did not speak for a moment. His face was doing a thing she had never seen it do. It was not the blank face. It was not the almost smile. It was a face she realized, with a small, sick jolt, was not a face he had ever shown her. It was the face under the face that he had learned from his father in a study when he was 11. Then he breathed, once, and the face under the face went back where it lived, and the Roman she knew came back behind his eyes. Ivy? Yes. I'm going to tell you something, and I am going to ask you to not panic. Okay? Bishop did not send this. How do you know? Because I sat across a table from him for 9 hours yesterday, and I watched his face when we made our deal. He is many things. He is not suicidal. Sending a bouquet to this address in my name today is a suicide note. Bishop is not writing one. Then who? That's what we are going to find out. Roman, Ivy, listen to me. Okay, the list of people who know about this apartment is small. The list of people who know that you are in this apartment is smaller. The list of people who know that I am here with you, as opposed to stashing you here alone, is smaller still. That list has 7 names on it, and 6 of them are people I would die for. The 7th is a problem. I need you to not be in the next room while I find out which of them it is. You think it's one of... I think it is almost certainly one of 7 people. Yes. Roman. Yes. This is... I know. Victor Cade is gone. Yes. Bishop stood down. Yes. And someone inside your circle sent flowers to this address in your name as a joke. It wasn't a joke. No. It was a message. What does it say? It says we know where she is. It says we know your name. We know your florist. We know the line you would write. We are inside. That's what it says. Ivy sat down on the stool. Okay, she said. Okay. Breathe. I'm breathing. Slower. Roman. Yes. This isn't over. No, it isn't over. It was never Bishop. He looked at her for a long moment. I don't know, he said very quietly. I don't know yet. Roman. Yes. Don't... What? Don't go back into that face again, the one you were just in. I don't want to see that face. He flinched, actually flinched. It was a very small flinch, but it was the first one she had ever seen him do. Okay, he said. Okay, I won't. Not in front of you. Not in front of me is not enough. Ivy, I know. Not today. Okay, not today. We'll talk about the face later. Today we find out who it is. Yes. Together. Together, Roman? He looked at her. He had never looked at her the way he looked at her in that moment. It was not love exactly. It was not any one thing. It was something like the look a man gives the first person in his entire life who has ever said the word together to him and meant it. Together, he said. Delphine was on speaker in the living room 12 minutes later. Delphine, who had worked for 3 DeLucas, who did not waste syllables, who had known Roman DeLuca since he was 9 years old. Delphine, whose voice through the speaker was tired and even and old. Roman. Delphine, I know why you're calling. You know. Eli called me 6 minutes ago. He did not tell me what happened. He asked me who has been on my computer in the last week. He only asks that question one way. Yes, I've been thinking. Okay. There is one person. It's not a person I'm comfortable saying out loud on a phone. Delphine, I will come in. Now. Now. Thank you, Delphine. Yes. The line clicked off. Roman sat on the couch. He put his elbows on his knees. He pressed the heels of his hands into his eyes. Ivy sat next to him. She did not touch him for a moment, and then she did. She put her hand on his back between his shoulder blades, flat, the way he had put his hand on her head 2 nights ago. She did not press. She just put it there. He exhaled long under her palm. Ivy. Yes. Whatever she says when she gets here. Yes. It is going to be somebody I trusted. I know. It might be somebody I love. I know, Roman. I don't know how I'm going to be in the next hour. Be how you need to be. I'm here. He turned his head. He looked at her. I I don't deserve you saying that sentence to me. That's not for you to decide. Ivy. What? You are going to ruin me. Good. He laughed, one rough laugh into the silence. He dropped his head. He pressed his forehead briefly against her shoulder. The elevator hummed in the shaft, somewhere in the building. Delphine was coming. And somewhere in the city, on a street Ivy had never walked down, a person whose name Roman DeLuca had not yet said out loud was drinking a coffee they had bought on their way to work, thinking about a bouquet they had sent as a test, and feeling, for the first time in a long career of betrayals, the very small and very certain beginning of fear. Delphine came up in the service elevator. She did not ring the bell. She let herself in with the keys she had been carrying since Roman was a boy, and she shut the door behind her, and she put her handbag down on the console, and she stood in the foyer with her coat still on and looked at Roman the way a woman looks at a son. "Sit down, Delphine," Roman said. "I will stand." "Delphine, Roman, I will stand. It is easier to say what I have come to say standing." He did not fight her. He sat. Ivy sat next to him. Delphine did not look at Ivy for longer than a second, and in that second she did something with her face that Ivy did not entirely catch. A small, quick, soft thing, gone before it finished. And then she was back in her armor. "Clara Marin," she said. Roman closed his eyes. Ivy did not know the name. She looked at Roman's profile, and she watched a series of very small things happen to it, and she understood without asking that this was one of the 6 he would have died for, and that he had just been told he was a fool. "Clara," he said, flat. "Yes, in my office. She has been in and out of my computer for 5 weeks, Roman. She does not think I notice. I notice. Tell me, twice she came behind my desk when I was at lunch. I saw the sleep lock on my monitor was off when I returned, both times. I did not say anything. I watched. 3 weeks ago, she asked me, very casually, very pleasantly, whether I had ever ordered flowers on your behalf. I told her yes, on occasion when a gift was required. She did not ask for the florist. She did not need to. My computer was open to the calendar. The florist's standing note sits in the notes field of a recurring event. She was looking directly at it. Clara. Yes, Roman. Clara has been with me for 6 years. Yes. Clara held my hand at my father's funeral. Yes. Clara is... Yes. Delphine, I did not want to come here today. I know. I have been sitting with it for 3 days. I did not have proof. This morning, Eli called me. I have proof enough now. I am sorry, Roman. Delphine. Yes. Why? Delphine at last sat down. She sat on the edge of the armchair across from them, her knees together, her hands in her lap, like a woman at a christening. She is not the traitor, Roman, she said. Not in the way Victor was. Explain that sentence to me. She is not selling to Bishop. She is not selling to anyone. She is not taking money. I have been checking, very quietly, for 3 weeks. There is no second phone, there is no second account, there are no meetings I cannot explain. She has not sold you. Then what is she doing, Delphine? Delphine took a breath. She is trying to get your attention. Roman did not move. Say that again. She is in love with you, Roman. She has been in love with you since the year your father died. I have watched it for 4 years, and I have said nothing because it was not my business and she was doing no harm. 3 weeks ago, she came up to the 45th floor for something small, a signature, and she saw you in the hall, and you were speaking with a woman in a red blazer. You remember, the legal woman, Marks, and you laughed at something Mark said, which you do not often do. And Clara stood at the end of the hall and watched, and then she went back down. And the next day she asked me about the florist. I did not think anything of it at the time. I should have. Delphine, I should have, Roman. I am telling you. I am old and I should have. Keep going. Then the Hale girl moved into this building. The circle that knew is small, as you know. Clara was not officially on that circle. But she sits outside my office. She sees who comes and goes. She sees who you cancel evenings for. She sees what time you leave in the morning. She is not stupid, Roman. She is not a junior. She has been in this company long enough to read the shape of things without being told. And when she read the shape of it, that there was a woman in this apartment, that you were sleeping here, that the woman was not going away, she did not come to me. She did not come to you. She went into my computer and she sent a bouquet in your name to this address with the words, "Welcome home." To say what, Delphine? To say I see you? To say I can reach her? To say, I am here, I have been here, do not forget me. That is a threat, Delphine. Yes. In my house. Yes. To a woman Roman stopped. His jaw was working. Ivy could feel the heat of him through his sleeve where her arm touched his. To a woman He tried again and could not finish the sentence and shook his head once. Yes, Delphine said gently. To that woman. The apartment was very quiet. Ivy looked down at her own hands in her lap. They were trembling. She pressed them flat against her thighs. She did not cry. She realized, angry. Angrier than she had been about any of it. Angrier than she had been about the photographs. Angrier than she had been about the car driving past her building 4 times. Because the photographs in the car had been a stranger, and this was not a stranger. This was a woman who had held Roman's hand at his father's funeral and who had chosen, 4 years later, to send a bouquet of white roses to a woman she had never met in Roman's name, to mark territory she did not own. Ivy did not know Clara Marin. Ivy already, in some small hot place in her chest, did not forgive Clara Marin. But she watched Roman's profile, and she watched the way his jaw kept working and not working, and she understood something else, something harder, that she would not have wanted to understand a month ago. That Clara Marin had also, for 4 years, been a woman who had held a small, painful hope in an office outside another woman's office, and who had watched the man she loved fail to notice her, day by day, and who had finally, in a moment of cracked bad judgment, done something ugly. Ivy thought of the woman in the mirror on the Friday night of the wrong message, flushed, mascara smeared, drunk in her kitchen, and thought, I am not above doing something ugly at the wrong moment. I am not above anything. It did not make her less angry. It made the anger less clean. Roman, Delphine said after a while, what do you want to do? He didn't answer for a long time. Not what I want to do, he said eventually. What I'm going to do. Yes, I don't want her touched. Roman, Delphine, I don't want her touched. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I hear you. Say it back to me. She is not to be touched. Not by anyone who works for me. Not by anyone who knows anyone who works for me. Not by a friend of a friend. Not by a suggestion in a bar. Nothing. She goes home tonight to her own apartment. She wakes up tomorrow. Her body goes on doing what bodies do. Am I clear? You are clear. I grew up in a house where this would have been handled differently. I am telling you, right now, in this room, that I am not my father. I am not going to be my father. If I become my father, I want you to come here and tell me, and I will fire myself. Yes? Yes. Okay. Then what, Roman? He breathed out. Then the boring thing, he said. Then she is let go, today, before the end of business. Not by me. By Stokes in HR. Clean paperwork, non-disclosure, severance. The severance is generous because that's how we keep her from talking, and because she has done 6 years of good work for me, and I owe her for those 6 years separately from what she did this week. She does not come back into the building. Her badge dies at 6 p.m. She does not have my number anymore. She does not have Delphine's. She is escorted out by Eli without drama, and she is put in a cab, and she goes home, and that is the end of her involvement in my life. Blossom, she will try to contact you. She will. She will not succeed. You're going to filter it, Delphine, the way you have filtered every other thing for 25 years. If she escalates, if she calls Ivy's friends, if she shows up at Ivy's building, if she writes a single word to anyone that could become a problem, then we go to the next step, which is not violent, which is lawyers, which is a very pointed civil suit and a restraining order and her entire professional reputation in this city evaporating overnight. I will do that to her. I do not want to. I will. And the Hale girl. Roman turned his head. He looked at Ivy. I'm here, Delphine, Ivy said. You can ask me. I'm not a file. Delphine, for the first time, actually smiled. It was a very small smile, a crease in a face that had not gotten much practice. You are right, she said. I'm sorry, Miss Hale. Ivy. Ivy, what do you want us to do for you? Me? You. Ivy thought, I want to go home at some point, she said. Not today. Not this week. But I want to go home at some point. I want to walk into my own apartment, and I want to put my key in my own door. I want to eat bad pad thai on my own couch and watch a movie no one has vetted. I want my life back. I want my life back with him in it, but I want it back. All right. I want to know that nobody is watching me. Nobody will be, Ivy. I promise you that. When we are done with today, nobody will be. I want Mara to be able to come to my apartment without getting into a black car she doesn't know. Yes, I want to go back to work. My actual job. On the 42nd floor. Not because I am his. I want to go back because I'm good at it, and because Harrow is a bad boss and I intend to be a better one eventually, and because I found a $9 million hole in a ledger 3 weeks ago, and I deserve, at some point, to be in a room where that gets said out loud. Delphine looked at Roman. Roman, for the first time since Delphine had come in, actually laughed. It was a tired laugh. It had an edge to it, but it was a laugh. Say it, Delphine, he said. She's right, Delphine said. I know she's right. She should be promoted. I know. Out of Harrow's division. I know. She should be running something. I know, Delphine. Ivy. Yes. If you would like a meeting next week with the head of our internal audit group, I would be delighted to arrange it. It would have nothing to do with this. She gestured briefly at Roman. Situation. It would have to do with a junior analyst who found a $9 million hole in a ledger 3 weeks ago. Yes, Ivy said. I would like that. Done. And, Roman said quietly, she's not a secret. Delphine looked at him. I beg your pardon. She's not a secret, Delphine. This is... He gestured vaguely between himself and Ivy. This is not a thing I'm going to hide. I'm not going to parade her through the lobby in a tiara. But I'm not going to hide her. If she wants this, we are not hiding this. There will be people who will have things to say. I'll handle them. There will be more than a few people, Roman. I know. Old people. People your father worked with. I know. There will be expectations. Let them have expectations. I'm not them. You are not your father. No. I am glad, Roman. He looked away. He swallowed. So am I. It was the closest Ivy had ever heard him come to saying he was glad to be anything at all. Delphine stood. She pulled her coat straight. She picked up her handbag from the console. I will speak to Stokes, she said. By 4. She will be gone by 6. I will call you when it is done. Thank you, Delphine. Yes. Delphine walked to the door. She stopped with her hand on the latch. She turned back. She looked at Ivy. Miss Hale. Ivy. Yes. I am sorry that this was the way you were welcomed to our... She paused and seemed to try a few words in her head and settle on one she did not quite like. Family. It's all right, Delphine. It is not all right. No, you're right. It isn't. But you didn't do it. Delphine inclined her head once. Take care of him, she said very quietly. Delphine? He has never had anyone, not once. Take care of him, Miss Hale. That is all I am asking. Ivy could not speak. She nodded. Delphine left. The apartment, after she was gone, held its breath. Roman stayed where he was on the couch for a long time. He had his elbows on his knees. His hands were hanging between them. He was looking at the rug. He did not speak. Ivy did not speak. She had learned in the last 3 weeks when to leave him be and when to reach for him, and she understood in her bones that this was a reaching moment, not a leaving one, but that the reaching was going to have to be slow. She put her hand on his back, between his shoulder blades, flat. He let out a breath that sounded like it had been in his chest all day. Clara, he said. I know. 6 years. I know. I didn't see it. Roman, you were not looking. That isn't a crime. That's being a person. I should have seen it. Why? Because you're supposed to see everything. Yes, that is not what people are. You are not a camera, Roman. You are a person. Sometimes other people hide things from you. Sometimes you don't notice what someone wanted you to notice. That doesn't mean you failed them. It means you're a man, not a... not a surveillance system. Ivy, I'm not done. Okay, you were told when you were 11 years old in a study that you had to see everything and know everything and miss nothing, because if you missed something, people you loved would die. That was the job your father gave you. That was not a job. That was a sentence. You have been serving it for 23 years. You are allowed, in this one instance, to have missed that one person in an office outside another person's office was in love with you. That is human. That is you being a man and not a whatever he made you. You are allowed, Roman. He put his head in his hands. She kept her hand on his back. I don't know how to do this, he said, into his hands. What? This. Whatever this is, I don't know how to do it. I never watched anyone do it. My father did not. My mother tried for a while, but I never saw it done, Ivy. I genuinely do not know how to do this. I'm going to be bad at it, okay? Okay? Okay, be bad at it. I'm going to be bad at it too. I've never had a boyfriend who owns a building. I've never had a boyfriend who has an assistant who has known him since he was 9. I have never been anybody's whatever I am to you right now. We're both going to be bad at it. We can be bad at it together. I think that's the whole deal, Roman. That's the whole deal in every relationship that has ever worked. You agree to be bad at it together and you don't quit. He laughed once into his hands. You make it sound like a job. Everything is a job. Ivy. What? He lifted his head. He looked at her. His eyes were tired and red at the rims, but they were his eyes, and the face under the face was not anywhere in them. Thank you, he said. For what? For not letting me go back in. Roman. Yes. You wouldn't have gone back in. Not really. You wouldn't have. You said it yourself. You're not your father. You already weren't going to hurt her. You just needed somebody to sit next to you while you decided not to. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. They sat there for a long time. By late afternoon, Delphine called. Clara Marin had been let go at 4:17 p.m. No drama. She had, Delphine said, cried in Stokes' office, and she had asked twice to speak to Roman, and Stokes had said no, twice, politely. She had signed the non-disclosure. She had taken the severance. Eli had walked her to a cab. The cab had taken her home. Her badge had been deactivated. Her corporate accounts had been closed. Her access to the building had been removed. She had not tried to call. Not yet. She may still try, Delphine said. Let her try, Roman said. She'll fail. Yes. Delphine. Yes. Thank you. Yes, Roman. He hung up. He turned to Ivy. It's done, he said. Is it? The Clara part of it is done. Yes. And the other part? Cade and Bishop? That's done. All of it. All of it. She sat with that for a moment. It did not at first feel like anything. It felt the way Monday afternoons felt. It felt the way an empty elevator felt. She wondered if she should feel something more dramatic than this, and then she decided that the drama was the whole point. Drama was what had brought her here, and the absence of drama was, it turned out, what she had been starving for. I want to go home tomorrow, she said. He looked at her. Okay, not forever. I mean, I want to sleep in my own apartment tomorrow night. I want to take the train to work on Monday. I want to see if I can still do it, Roman. I want to see if I can stand in my own kitchen and make my own bad coffee and be fine. Because if I can't, if I can only do this inside this apartment with you, then this isn't anything. Then I'm just a person you rescued. I don't want to be a person you rescued. I want to be a person who walked back into her life and chose you from inside her own life. He was quiet. Okay, he said. Okay? Okay, Ivy. If that's what you want, it's what I want. Then that's what we do. I want you there sometimes. A lot of times. You can come over. You can stay. Whenever you want. I'm not shutting a door. I'm opening a different one. I understand. Do you? Yes. Ivy, I understand. You are not a bird in a house. I don't want you to be a bird in a house. I would hate you in 6 weeks if you were a bird in a house. Roman. Yes. That was the most romantic thing anyone has ever said to me. Shut up. Meant every word. Shut up. He kissed her. He kissed her on the couch in the failing light, while the river outside went from gray to pink and back to gray, and for the first time since she had known him, he kissed her like a man who was going to have a lot of time. She went home on Saturday morning. Eli drove her. He carried her bag up the 4 flights. He did a slow, thorough walkthrough of her apartment, checking windows and closets and the space behind the shower curtain, and then he stood in her living room and he said, very formally, "Miss Hale." Eli. "It's clean. Thank you, Eli. I'll be downstairs until 11. Eli. "Ma'am." "You don't have to." "Yes, ma'am, I do. It's the first night. I'm here until 11. Tomorrow I'm not. But tonight I am. Don't fight me on it, ma'am. He'll fire me." "He will not fire you." "He won't fire me, no, ma'am. But he'll be disappointed. I'd rather be fired." She laughed. She hugged him, briefly, which he tolerated with the expression of a man being licked by a friendly dog. "Thank you, Eli." "Yes, ma'am." He left. She stood in her own living room. The coat she had taken off on that Friday was still on the hook where she had dropped it. The heel she had kicked across the floor was still against the baseboard. Her bag was where she had left it by the door. Everything was exactly as she had left it 3 weeks ago, and at the same time nothing was, because the woman who had left it 3 weeks ago was not quite the woman standing here now. She walked around her apartment slowly. She touched things. The back of a chair, the corner of the kitchen table, the spine of a book on the coffee table. It all still belonged to her. That was the thing. She had been afraid, without admitting it to herself, that she would come back to her apartment and find that she had outgrown it, that it would feel small, that it would feel like a child's room. It did not. It felt like her home. She took a long shower. She made a pot of coffee in her own chipped French press. She sat on her own couch, in her own sweats, with her own wet hair, and she watched, from the window, the ordinary Saturday traffic of the ordinary avenue, and she drank her coffee, and she cried a little because she could. She called Roman at noon. "Hi." "Hi." "How is it?" "Mine." "What?" "It's mine. My apartment. It's still mine. I'm okay, Roman. I'm okay." "Okay. Come over tonight." "You sure?" "Yeah, come over tonight. I don't know. Bring yourself. I have 2 chairs. I know you have 2 chairs. I sat in one of them. So come sit in it again." 8? 8. Okay. He came at 8. He brought nothing except himself and a bottle of wine that was better than any wine that had ever been in her apartment. He sat on her couch in jeans and a dark sweater, and he looked faintly ridiculous there because he did not match her couch, and she loved that he did not match her couch. They ate takeout pad thai. They watched a terrible movie that he had never heard of. She fell asleep against his shoulder at 11, and he carried her to her bed like she weighed nothing, and he lay down next to her on top of the covers in his clothes. And he did not take anything off, and he stayed until morning. That was the shape of the next month. Some nights at her apartment, some nights at his, some nights apart. She went back to work on Monday. Harrow was exactly the same. The coffee in the lobby cafe was exactly the same. Priya brought her a granola bar without looking up and said, "Morning, Hale. Weekend?" And Ivy said, "Quiet," and they laughed at a joke that had now been running for 17 months. 2 weeks later, Delphine walked Ivy, personally, into a conference room on the 44th floor. The head of internal audit was there, a woman in her 50s named Bernstein, who had, Ivy would later learn, joined the firm the same year Ivy was born. Bernstein listened to Ivy for 40 minutes, lay out the CADE pattern. She did not interrupt. At the end, she said, "You're wasted on Harrow." 2 weeks after that, Ivy was a senior analyst in Bernstein's group, with a raise that made her physically dizzy and a desk on the 44th floor that had a window. The first time Roman walked past her on 44, a Tuesday, at 11 in the morning, in view of at least a dozen people in the pit of cubicles outside her new office, he stopped at her door and he leaned against the frame and he said, "Miss Hale." "Mr. DeLuca." "Dinner." "When?" 7:30. "Where?" "Your place." "Bring wine." "I always bring wine." "I know. I just like to say it." Priya, 3 desks over, was going to have to be resuscitated. Ivy watched in her peripheral vision 4 heads swivel and then very deliberately unswivel. She did not care. Roman did not care. He walked away down the hall with his hands in his pockets, and he did not look back because he did not need to. That was also the shape of the next month. The city, for its part, did what cities do. It absorbed what had happened and turned it into gossip, which turned into rumor, which turned into the kind of wallpaper that most people do not bother to see. Roman DeLuca was dating an analyst. Roman DeLuca had fired half his inner circle. Roman DeLuca was, apparently, going soft. Roman DeLuca did not look like a man going soft to the people who actually met with him in rooms where decisions got made. He looked like a man who had, for the first time in a long time, decided what he was for, and who had stopped asking the opinion of a dead father he did not miss. Ivy met a lot of those people over the next few months, in small ways. At a dinner for 6 on a Thursday night, at a charity thing she wore a very expensive dress to, which she paid for herself because that was important to her. At a Sunday lunch at a restaurant where Roman introduced her simply as Ivy, and did not attach her to anything, not to himself, not to the company, not to any adjective, just Ivy. The older men looked at her like they were trying to figure her out. She looked back at them like she was not in any particular hurry to be figured out. It mostly worked. Her mother met Roman after 3 months, at a Sunday brunch at a diner in New Jersey on Ivy's insistence, because Ivy's mother was not going to travel to the city on Ivy's boyfriend's dime, and Ivy was not going to bring this man into a restaurant where her mother would feel surveyed. Her mother ordered a short stack. Roman ordered a short stack. Her mother asked him exactly one question. "Do you make her laugh, son?" "I try, ma'am." "Try harder." "Yes, ma'am." Her mother did not ask anything else. In the parking lot afterward, her mother held Ivy's face in her hands and looked at her for a long time and said, "You look like you're sleeping." And Ivy laughed and cried at the same time, and that was all her mother said about it, and that was how Ivy Hale's mother approved. The message of the whole thing, Ivy thought, on a Saturday afternoon 4 months in, sitting on her own couch in her own apartment painting her own toenails while Roman read a newspaper in the chair by the window in a pair of reading glasses she had not known he owned, was not what a person would expect. It was not love wins. It was not the bad man is redeemed by the good woman. She did not believe either of those things. She had watched Roman, over 4 months, have 2 very bad days where the face under the face came up to the surface again, and she had learned to recognize it, and she had learned to say, quietly, "Not in front of me," and to sit with him afterward while he put it down. He was not redeemed. He was a man who had been badly made by people who had meant to do it, and he was, slowly and imperfectly, deciding not to stay that way. The deciding was daily. The deciding was not over. The deciding was, in fact, the whole job of the rest of his life. The message, if she had to say one, was smaller than love. It was closer to this, that every person, she had come to believe, was living inside a room that had been built for them by someone else. Her room had been built by a father who left, and a sister who got sick, and a mother who bent her back under bills. Roman's had been built by a father in a study and a mother at a kitchen table who did not get back up. Mara's, Priya's, Delphine's, even Clara Marion's, probably. Some room, somewhere, that Clara had been locked inside by people with their own reasons, which was not an excuse for sending the flowers, but was, maybe, an explanation. The rooms were not fair. You did not get to pick them. The thing you got to pick, Ivy thought, painting her toenails badly, because her left hand was not good at it, was whether, at some point, you reached out and put your hand through the wall of your room and let it rest, for a second, in somebody else's room. Not to rescue them, not to be rescued, just to say, "I'm here, and I see you, and you are not the only one in a room." That was the thing. That was what nobody had told her growing up. Everybody had told her love was a storm, or a door, or a fire, and everybody had been lying, because love, the kind that lasted, the kind that was worth sleeping badly in a guest room for a week for, was a hand through a wall. It was small. It was constant. It was not dramatic. It was, in fact, the opposite of dramatic. The drama was the other part. The drama was what had brought her here. The hand through the wall was what had kept her. Roman turned a page of his newspaper. He did not look up at her. "You're thinking too loud," he said. "I am not." I can hear you thinking from over here. Roman, you cannot hear thoughts. I can hear yours. That's unsettling. It's my favorite thing about us. Roman. I love you. He stopped turning the page. He set the newspaper down. He took his glasses off. He looked at her over the top of them. His face did that thing it did. The almost smile, the one that was never quite a smile, but that on him was everything. Okay, he said. Okay? Okay, Ivy. That is not the response a person gives. I'm giving it. Roman. I love you too, obviously. Don't be an idiot. Come here. She got up. She walked across the rug, barefoot, one foot with wet nail polish, which left very small red crescents on the floor behind her that she would find the next morning and not regret. She sat on the arm of his chair. He pulled her into his lap, newspaper and all, and he kissed the side of her head, and he put his chin on top of it, and he went back to reading. Outside her fourth-floor window, the city did its Saturday thing. Somewhere on another floor, a dog barked. Somewhere on the street, a delivery truck sighed to a stop. In a building across town, a woman in her 50s named Delphine was drinking tea and thinking, with some satisfaction, about a raise she intended to argue for in the morning. In a suburb out past the river, a house that had once belonged to a man named Victor Cade sat empty, its lawn already starting to go. In a city 2 states over, a man named Bishop ate lunch and did not think about Ivy Hale because he had been told not to and had agreed. And on Ivy's couch, a phone buzzed, face down, with a message that had nothing to do with any of them. It was from Mara. It said, "You alive? I'm at Margot's. Half-price drinks. Where are you?" Ivy leaned down. She read it. She laughed. "Tell her you're busy," Roman said without looking up from the newspaper. "I'm not busy." "Yes, you are. I'm reading. You're sitting on me. That's busy." Roman DeLuca. You are a very strange man. I know. I'm keeping you. I know. She typed, one-handed, with her thumb. Alive. Busy. Tomorrow? The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared. Tomorrow. Love you. Tell the scary man I said hi. Ivy laughed. She showed Roman the screen. He read it. He almost smiled. Tell the scary man's girlfriend I said hi back, he said. She typed it. She sent it. She put the phone down. Outside, the light over the avenue began to change. The way it did on Saturdays, long and slow and gold. Roman turned another page of his newspaper. Ivy closed her eyes and leaned her cheek against the top of his head, and for the first time in her entire life, in a room that was hers, with a man who had chosen her, in a city that had tried for a month to take her out, she was not afraid of tomorrow. She was not afraid of anything at all. And that, finally, was the end of it.